night, continues tonight. In the first big night tonight, there were a couple of interesting games to get to, and we will, along with those of you who, of course, are covering what we do and what we do with college football. And a couple of interesting notes today. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak with me inside the press box at Dragon Stadium, and we'll have Andy Staples of theathletic.com with us today at 4 o'clock at a story that he and Max Olson had about Brigham Young. But let's first start with yesterday evening. Mack Rhoades, Kirby Hocutt said this, that they are a part of a subcommittee that will be a part of the expansion discussion involving the Big 12, and then we'll get to Brigham Young.
Yeah, it's finally happening where the ADs are in on a subcommittee. Before it was the presidents. You know, the fake one 5 years ago or 24 years ago, the fake expansion committee, the 18 things, that wasn't ADs and there was no real interest. It was all a smoke screen. At least that is how it appeared to everybody.
I think those who were interested think it was a smoke screen too. Yeah,
absolutely. But now what we see is ADs coming together and they've got to get proactive because we don't know what's going to happen in the future. And if you're the Big 12, you've got to start being proactive and not reactive.
Well, Craig Smoak, Mack Rhoades involved. And here's the typical reaction from some of the fans that I saw when it was Mack Rhoades, Baylor, Texas Tech, whoever else, and fans, oh my God, that means we're screwed. That screws Kansas. This is so typical. Bottom line is that there is a subcommittee. Mack Rhoades is on it. That can only be good that they're talking, and obviously that doesn't mean he's on the subcommittee to only help Baylor. The subcommittee is to try to help the entire Big 12 with whatever the next step might be.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that Mack Rhoades being involved has really anything to do with Baylor in particular. I actually saw some Big 12 fans whose, I guess, ADs weren't invited to the committee, and they were complaining about that. It's like, well, you don't need all 8 to do this. I mean, it's a small group as it is. They don't need, every single person involved in this. So, yeah, I mean, it's a good designation for him to have along with Kirby Hocutt and whoever else. And it's something that they obviously need to do, something we talked about at great length yesterday and for the last few weeks. And so it's good to know there's actually somebody awake on the Big 12 side of things because we've heard really little to nothing, as we've mentioned with Bob Bowlesby, ever since his big ESPN claim. So to know that they're actually not just sitting pat and enjoying vacation time before the season starts is good to know. That's really all I asked for, was to know that they were at least working on something. So now we know that they are. What exactly that will be, we don't know. Last time they put a committee together or whatever for expansion, it was a total dog and pony show that really meant nothing at all. But we know that this is not that same scenario. This is a much different scenario. And rather than being able to just kind of flip their nose at the AAC and whoever else was potentially trying to get into the conference the last time around. Now they're in a much different position as far as they actually do need these teams, and they do need to probably go add some people. So it'll be very interesting to see the steps that they take.
We are brought to you on Friday afternoons because of Texas high school football by Burt Colgin Ford. Thanks to Mark Stewart. They will have, and they're a part of that, what is the Built Ford Tough Texas High School Football Players of the Week every single week in all the classifications, including the private or TAP schools as well. Burt Colgin Ford on the Loop 340 in Waco. Our Friday afternoon, wherever we are, here in Round Rock or next week back in Waco at Midway's beautiful Panther Stadium. We have high school football tonight, Conley and Midway. And by the way, those games, both of the links for the games are up on SicEm365.com, thanks to Cole Barber from earlier today. Okay, so the Mack Rhoades story and Kirby Hocutt and the subcommittee, and then you turn around, and today Andy Staples and Max Olson, and Max will join us at 4. The Pac-12, of course, yesterday with their statement, and now Big 12 seriously discussing Brigham Young. Sources say and TV numbers are in the Cougars' favor.
I would we've been saying this all the time. If you're going to add, they'd be not my number one choice. Again, they have a captive audience of people who are going to like them. They're the closest thing to Notre Dame that you can get. Absolutely the closest thing to Notre Dame, and that you have an entire religion of people, whether they go to BYU or not. Just like, look, I can tell you this, growing up Catholic, I didn't go to Notre Dame. Most of the people I went to school with didn't go to Notre Dame. I know 4 people in my whole Catholic life that have gone to Notre Dame, but guess what? Most of the people I know are at least tangential Notre Dame fans. The same probably goes for BYU. Look, you may not be a Mormon who goes to BYU, but you love BYU. I mean, it's the home university, and they have an ever growing fan base in their own TV situation. Yeah, I'd absolutely go for BYU.
Yeah, that makes sense. I actually saw a few BYU fans who initially responded to the report kind of spurning it and being like, no way, why would we do that? We're independent. We don't need to be anything else. So I don't know if that's the opinion of most of the BYU fan base, or if that's just I caught like the grouchiest members of the BYU fan base all responding at one time. I'm not really sure what their thoughts are, so maybe one of them could fill us in. But yeah, I mean, they make a lot of sense. They've got their own little piece of the pie, so to speak, like you're mentioning, a la Notre Dame in a way. And that's something that not a lot of teams can claim. So they do have a bit of a benefit there. And it's a benefit that it makes you wonder if it's worth them jumping to the Big 12, which is maybe what some of those fans were thinking. But, that Power 5 status, we've talked about it a lot. That's what everybody's in pursuit of. So wouldn't surprise me if BYU had interest. Doesn't surprise me the Big 12 has interest. Do they go for 1 team, 2 teams, 4 teams, 6 teams? I saw somebody mention Big 12 and how big do they expand, because what are the odds that in 3 or 4 years when the other TV rights are up that, potentially then you see a Pac-12 pursuing Oklahoma State, or ACC pursue Baylor, or whatever. So it makes me wonder what the Big 12's plan is. Do they just grab a couple teams, 4 teams, or do they just go all balls out and, go 16 large just to set themselves up maybe for even further departures in the future, potentially, just to kind of have a safety net of sorts. But yeah, BYU seems to be right at the top of the list. Don't know how they view the other candidates, but there's definitely a lot of other candidates.
No question about it. I liked what I saw. Andy Staples will maybe clarify that a little bit more for us at 4 o'clock today. Grayson Grundhafer, who's our recruiting analyst for Sikkim365.com, he'll join us at 3:45. Sam Bradshaw, S11, on the site on a very thorough story that he had in this premium section about Baylor and the offense of Jeff Grimes and some of the options they'll have. And also today, former Texas High School Hall of Famer. He's about to be a part of the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. Former Texas All-American, College Football Hall of Famer Derek Johnson, and he played for a long time in the NFL, mainly with Kansas City. Derek Johnson joins us today on the eve of him being inducted into the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. That will be today at 4:30. We break here, Paul, come back, kind of reset a little bit. Here's what we're doing. This is on Fridays, normally in that beautiful studio that we have at 365 Sports. On Fridays for the next 10 of the next 11 weeks and maybe longer, we will be on the road of the high school team that we broadcast on Friday nights, which is Midway Panthers football. They're in Round Rock, Dragon Stadium, just outside of Austin. And so that's where we are. And our Friday coverage of this show on the road, brought to you by Burt Colgin Ford, and of course a huge supporter of the Built Ford Tough Texas High School Football Player of the Week, Paul Catalina. I'm David Smoak, also Craig Smoak, and Hayden Bumpus is here. Hayden Bumpus is here, and this is 365 Sports.
Tell us about Waco Custom Marketplace.
Waco Custom Marketplace. I cannot wait, because before I left today, I went into the deep freeze that I have at the condo, and I pulled out a big, thick bone-in ribeye, put it inside the refrigerator so we can thaw throughout the rest of the day, into the night, and, of course, tomorrow. And that baby is going on the grill tomorrow night. A big, thick bone-in ribeye that I have custom cut by Waco Custom Marketplace. And, of course, right now, they have some great tailgating options for you. Baylor on the road next week, but eventually their home games coming up in a couple of weeks. And Waco Custom Marketplace, Cajun sausage. There's sausage, there's Italian sausage, there's sweet, all of the stuff you want as far as brats. And then there's Cajun sausage for $3.50 a pound. Hot Links, St. Louis ribs. This is great tailgate food. The Hot Links are $3.50 a pound. St. Louis ribs, you could just feel them. They're so delicious. Put whatever spices and barbecue sauce you want, or just the way you want it, as it is at $4.99 a pound. They have baby back pork ribs for $5.75 a pound. Boneless and bone-in pork butt for $2.50 a pound, or $1.65 a pound. And here's the best part as far as the tailgating as well. is 20% off all of the charcoal. The picture here shows you they have a beer inside their walk-in not walk-in, but the big refrigerator to the right side. They have beer and wine, and of course soft drinks and much more. Eggs, bacon, the hometown country grocery store flavor. The picture is bacon wrapped fillets, a big huge tomahawk ribeye, and then beer, charcoal, and more. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
It's time for some high school football. Berg Colgan Ford proudly celebrates the Panthers, Cadets, Lions, and all the Central Texas football teams as they march their way through the season and down the field. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgan Ford. We'd love to show you our Broncos, Raptors, and Mustangs. These vehicles are winners with their sporty options and designs. Nominate who you think deserves the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week at FordPlayerOfTheWeek.com. Visit us anytime at BKFord.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed, everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online, pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T is board-certified physician consultations, will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
All right, listen, we're live in Round Rock, Texas at Dragon Stadium. Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, David Smoak. A lot of you have reacted already to at least the story by theathletic.com. These are guys in college football that cover the game like Andy Staples, Max Olson, and others that do a great job of it. And it's just out there that perhaps Brigham Young is one that is targeted. That makes sense. Now, there may be others. The good news is there's a subcommittee to discuss that. Whether they add anybody or not, we don't know, but a lot of you have already fired up on it. 254-339-1122 is the text line, and the chat room is wide open. David Scott, if you add Brigham Young, doesn't that mean you have to add another team out west? For example, maybe Colorado State. You still have to bridge the gap as well to West Virginia.
Well, I mean, yeah and no. How was the bridge gapped with Oklahoma and Texas? I mean, what's the difference? If Oklahoma, what's the difference? Is there a team that's now not in the Big 12 that was closer to West Virginia?
No.
That's what I'm saying. So you don't really have to bridge the gap to West Virginia per se, because it's the same length of bridge that it was previously without Oklahoma, or with or without Oklahoma and Texas. So, yeah, I mean, ideally, that's where a Cincinnati would come into play, though, to get somebody that actually is somewhat close, or a UCF for that matter. I mean, I think both of them make sense as far as Eastern expansion goes. BYU, obviously, with Western expansion makes you think of, potentially a Boise State. They've been somebody that's been off-mentioned, or a Colorado State. I haven't heard them talked about a ton, but, maybe there's some interest there. I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, maybe the way to go is you've got the Central States pretty much locked up the way it is right now. So why not, take a couple out west, couple out east, expand both ways, and, that would make a lot of sense to me for sure.
All right, Craig Smoak, with that, Paul Catalina, that doesn't mean you may not, you also add somebody from that same region if there's something that's out there. But right now, other than Colorado State, is there another team? I know we've heard others that have brought up schools in the Mountain or West time zone. Is Colorado State the only one out there that would even be something to glance at?
Besides Boise, right?
Yeah, well, but Boise State, to me, I think Boise State, UCF, either Memphis or Cincinnati and Brigham Young's a pretty good foursome, but that's me. Yeah.
Yeah, and look, I wouldn't necessarily stop at 4. If everybody else is going to 14 or 16, then unless there's just a negative TV response to that where they say, listen, you guys get to 12, be the actual Big 12, and that's fine with us, and you're going to get $20 million or $25 million a year. I think given the fact that they could be at $9 million a year, I'd be happy with that, guys. But I don't know if Colorado State does anything for you because of where they are in Colorado, because they're not, University of Colorado in Boulder is closer to Denver. I mean, that would be more of the Denver market. The rest of Colorado, I'm not familiar with the TV market, rankings outside of Denver. Denver's a great TV market, but Colorado State doesn't necessarily get you that, or necessarily it's also not the, does that do anything for you anywhere? But Boise State, BYU, UCF, Memphis, Cincinnati. I mean, that's 5 schools that get you to 13, and then start having real conversations about who else. Maybe Colorado State gets you to 14. Maybe that's why.
There's one team that we haven't mentioned, and that's Houston. I mean, where do they fall into this?
And there's a lot of feedback on Houston on the chat room. We'll get to that.
I think I'm not all for. Okay. I want to make it very clear, because I've made this point like a billion times. It's not a personal decision on my part. It's a simply, hey, if I had my preference, if I was Mac Rhodes or TCU or Texas Tech, I would not want another Texas team, because it just splits the pie even further. However, if they are the right school to bring in, no matter what it does to the other Texas schools, then you have to bring them in. The Houston market right now is dominated by the SEC with Texas. I'm just lumping them into Houston already as an SEC team. So between A&M, LSU, and Texas, I mean, that's the Houston market. You're not going to go get Rice. They do nothing for you. Houston Baptist, of course not, right? So the only team you really have down there would be like a Tulane, but that's not even going to get you most of New Orleans, much less Houston, like LSU does. So it's Houston. I mean, money-wise, they're fit. Competition-wise, they're fit. Good basketball program we saw this past year. I think they've got all the tools. The only thing I have against them, and it's not even really me against them, it's just that Texas thing, right? But if you tell me that the Pac-12 is not expanding right now, but That's not to say they don't in a couple years. And if Houston's right at the top of their list, would you want that egg on your face if you're the big whatever, that you just let Houston slide on out to another Power 5 and actually eclipse the teams that you already have? So you might almost have to defensively take a Houston, I would think, or at least take that into consideration, because the last thing you want is to skip over them and then they go, thrive somewhere else. And to me, out of all the teams other than BYU, I think they might be the most attractive option for all the other conferences out there.
We've mentioned this before. And by the way, Craig, there are people who want to see you, so you need to move over towards me a little bit. They want to know. They want to see you on camera. Yeah. We're trying to.
I hate being on camera, by the way.
I know. I know. Believe me, it's like you want rather go to the dentist. Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, David Smoak.
And by the way, we're not in the biggest press box either, so it's not like we're.
Yeah, but we're not stinky yet.
Yeah, I'll tell you this.
In a little bit.
And thank you to Brent and to Coach McMahon, who helped us out today. This is there's two stadiums that they have to oversee here in Round Rock, and it's not an easy job to do.
Yeah, high school football. There's 1,200 plus schools, and we're at one of the stadiums, probably 500-600 different stadiums that have games tonight. I want to give one local note, a statewide note for Texas high school football, and there's a lot of games to get to. South Lake Carroll smoked Highland Park, and they don't lose like that very often. Carthage. Scott Surratt and Carthage, they've won 8 state championships in 11 years or so, whatever it's been, maybe a little bit more. They played the 5A Division II finalists last night, trailed 17-0, and came back to win 31 in a row. They took on a 5A Division II team, and in the state of Texas, you have 6A by itself, and then everything else after that is Division I and II based on enrollment. Division I's the higher enrollment. They went up not one notch, but 2, and still won, and had 10 or 12 players out with COVID.
I mean, I don't say this to dismiss Carthage at all, because I could go for an hour on how much I respect them, but I don't know that there's a team that people choke against more than the people who play Carthage. I mean, the number of times they're down by like double digits, not triple digits, obviously, but like they could be down 21 points in the fourth quarter and you're like, they're still going to win this game. You know what I mean? Like they have that about them, and teams just don't know how to finish them off. It's amazing. Until recently, the college team I would compare them to was big. There are many Big 12 teams that would have their way against Texas for 3 quarters, and then in the fourth quarter, trip over their feet.
Well, and they've won 8 state titles. It's like teams did that with Permian, who of course ran high school football along with a few others in the past. You just it's kind of like you look at the name or the jersey or the logo. It happens at various levels of sports. Let's rattle off some of the chat. Well, we were talking about Houston, let's get into that. Well, let me find it. Okay, from Caden, Brigham Young, Houston, Cincinnati, and Memphis. Round 1. Round 2, go to UCF. USF, Boise State, and SMU. I don't like 2 of those last 4. SMU does nothing. I mean, I'm sorry, but they don't bring any eyeballs. I know that they're an up-and-coming program, and they've got something really good going on right now, but that is a tiny school with a fan base that doesn't care that much. I'm sorry, they don't. They don't, and they're not going to grow and get larger. That to me, no. They're not bringing the Dallas market. Any more so than Baylor or TCU or those teams already are. So no to SMU, in my opinion. If you're going to take a Texas team, it's Houston, but you're definitely not taking 2 Texas teams. I just think that would be suicidal. Overkill. That would be. It's overkill, and 2, it doesn't make any sense. Plus, we had Billy Embody on Friday, and Billy Embody, I asked him, I said, SMU and this whole thing in realignment. I mean, look, they are a program that is just now has their head consistently above water after 30 years. Oh, after the death penalty. Yeah. I mean, after 30 years of having to climb out of it. So how do they feel about it? I mean, are they somebody and Billy Embody, who covers them, says like, no, they're happy where they are because they're now where they should be. It's taken them, it's not quite 30, but close to 1988, 89 is when. And while this might be wild to hear, and all this realignment thing, there are some schools that know that they have no part in it. They're never going to do it, and they just need to make the best of what they are. The only reason they would want to be a part of it if they were invited was because of the money they would get, which is 2 or 3 times what they're getting now. But that's it. Right. But what did they bring? They don't bring anything. No. I mean, they bring a good football team, but okay, you already have a bunch of those. Like you already have a handful of those. So. And I'm not trying to ever suggest that. I'm not trying to be dismissive either.
I don't think so on SMU. And USF's interesting. I don't know that you want to go grab two teams from Florida either, right? I don't know. Like, I think UCF is far and away probably your number one, maybe your number two overall behind BYU. And I don't know if they would be like, well, yeah, we'd like to join, but we're not all that interested in USF also joining with us. Or I don't know how attractive USF is in comparison to UCF. They just don't really have a lot of juice to them right now.
And I'll tell you this, if academics means anything,
right? There's that too.
If it means anything in this at all, which it's not
as important. It's only used at times when you want to raise your leg a little higher on the fire hydrant. Right?
Yeah, but if it does mean anything, USF is not that school. I'm not saying they're a bad school, but they're a school that has a different mission. It is not a tier 1 research institution. It's not trying to be. It's a commuter school. That's what USF is.
If some of them are arguing about that now, that they're not as much that as they have been. They're trying to get away.
Yeah.
They love their student enrollment. Believe me.
UCF and Houston have a legitimate argument in that they have grown past that. USF is still that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, UCF is not anymore.
So here's 2-3 more. In the latest survey, this is from Bobby Paluga, and I asked Bobby on the chat room to give me an article if you wouldn't mind. In the latest survey, 78% of Brigham Young fans on Twitter voted in favor of moving to the Big 12. Now, I don't know if that's 78% of 100 or 10,000, whose it is. Let me see.
I must have caught like the two that were just the mopey, angry ones in, because they were like adamant about not wanting to join the Big 12. And I was like, okay, then I guess it's not as popular of a decision as I thought. But I mean, that poll says the complete opposite. So yeah, bring on the opinions, because I'm trying to get a good pulse on what BYU fans are looking for.
From Drew. And tell us if you're a BYU fan on the chat room or in the text line, 254-339-1122 on the text line. We got some of you on that as well. From Drew Hirsch, the Big 12 should have added Brigham Young a long time ago. They fit the culture, being a religious institution, and the LGBT. Now, if in fact they are a part of the equation, is the Big 12 going to have backlash for that? Are they going to be able, because we've seen them at times kind of cower to social media pressure on some things. Is everyone okay? Hey, everybody has their own mission statements in certain ways. Are they going to be able to, is that going to be okay? It's okay with me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is that
it's about football.
Okay. Let's decide on athletics and money and what's better for the schools as a group. Or let's get in the weeds of, I don't agree with your religion. I don't agree with your politics.
That's America today, though, right?
But see, you know what? I could. If
doesn't
I was
have to be.
Yeah,
no,
I'll tell you, it doesn't have to be. But if I was a big enough a-hole, I could pick a fight between Berkeley and Stanford right now.
Yeah, I know you
that would rip them apart, because they're so uber sensitive. And then guess what? You're mad at all the conservatives. You two liberals are fighting with each other. So I could pick a fight between two conservatives or two liberals in 2 seconds. So I could pick a fight between the Baptists and the Mormons, I'm sure, but that's not what's productive.
All right, some more from Caden. You already compete with Houston for recruits. You want those recruits inside your conference and not the AAC or the Pac-12?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, is there more to it?
No, he had another comment to that. That's okay. Go ahead.
Well, I was see if you want to read the rest of his comment.
Jeff Grimm, who's a big Alabama fan. He's one of our long time from the first day. The Big 12 is dumb if they add any of the Texas schools.
Yeah, and that's where I've been from the beginning. And today I'm kind of sort of backing away from that a little bit. I'll admit that part of that is that John Wilner article about the Pac-12's potential interest in Houston. And I think if you're the Big 12 and you're trying to be proactive, you need to be proactive, and you need to maybe cut off that threat at the pass. I mean, the last thing I think you want is for Houston to go join the Pac-12 potentially in a couple years, and the Big 12 still struggling along, and you go, we could have had them, and all that. But there is that part of it, the recruiting part of it, that if I'm Baylor, TCU, Tech, I don't want them to be on my same level.
Well, then go win those recruiting
battles.
I
agree that. I agree. But
that opens the door. Here's from the 801. Big Brigham Young fan. Thank you for listening. Love the Big 12. I think it's a match made in heaven. You guys are now my go-to station for everything college football, Big 12. Love it. Spencer in the 801 Spencer. From Paul. Again, a lot of these are options for
that's pro BYU to the Big 12. Thank you, Spencer.
Brigham Young, Boise State, UCF, Cincinnati, Houston, and Memphis.
See that group right there? Like, that's why I wonder how deep into the weeds they're going to go as far as expansion. Like, do they have a number in mind right now, or are they completely open to just going crazy? Because I'm not opposed to them. Like, I'm sure they've got all the economic people and the numbers people and, all that on behind the scenes, breaking down these schools and what value they have. But I wonder how far they go, because you could, in theory, go from an 8-team conference, which is basically what it is right now.
Yep.
Why not go to 16 if you add all those schools, right? How much does that – I'm just curious. I'm not advocating they do that, but there are several good options, as you mentioned. And if you're going to go down this path of adding teams like this, well, then there's several of those types of teams that are potentially valuable. So I would be curious to know if 12 means that the 12 make more money as opposed to if they had 16, because if 16 somehow could make them more money and you could add all those teams and spread out that much geographically, I think that would be really interesting.
What if you're one of those on the outside of group of Power 5 autonomy and you're getting 9 or 10 million a year, and you have the Big 12, which until 24-25 is going to get in that upper 20, early 30 million, right?
Close to 40.
Okay, 40. Why can't you, if you're the Big 12, regardless of what anyone's perception of them is, you want to come to us, you're going to have a ladder of how much more you make, but you're going to be making more than you're making now, and you will be a Power 5. Do they have that kind of leverage?
Yeah, that's what they did with West Virginia and TCU.
That's what they did to Nebraska and Rutgers and Maryland and others as well.
The other thing is I would think that if in the first year it's not, or maybe the last year, if you're willing to look, if you know that your TV contract's going to be $25 million, if it means dropping down to $25 million to get everybody in and lock yourself up and get you used to it, then do it.
Depending on how the length of it is?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah. So if you know that's what it's going to be.
This is the 512. Big 12 should expand to 12 members, 12 plus, proactively taking pieces off the board for future Power 5 expansions, create a Big 12 streaming network. Let me go to one more, the 903. That's about, Glenn said, you guys understand who the AD at Boise State? Yes, we've had him on the show, Glenn. Yeah. Great point.
Love
is
JD.
Jeremiah Dickey. And so Jeremiah is blowing up Mac Rhodes' phone right now, quite a bit right now.
I'll tell you right now, I could send Jeremiah Dickey a text, and I'll just say busy, and he would go, yeah. You think?
From the 813, which is, I think, in Tampa, in that Florida area. Can't get through on the phone. We're not going to take calls today. It's chat room and text only, but it's 254-339-1122. Get Houston, Brigham Young, Cincinnati, Memphis, UCF, Colorado State, all of USF, UNF. Big 12 would then be able to get a conference network. Go to CBS for a new TV contract. Call me. I will explain it in detail. We appreciate that. But, again, there's some of those teams. The UNLV thing brings up
That's interesting.
That's a big market.
Haven't heard anybody. So the 813, you brought a team up that nobody has mentioned, and they are going big boys now. They're going. All these things are happening in Las Vegas.
The top 5 today is top 5 team markets they could add, and I intentionally skipped Vegas because in my mind I was like, UNLV, but it is. Like 11th, I want to say, Vegas right now, 12th.
And again, if we say Tulane doesn't carry New Orleans, and Houston doesn't carry Houston, or SMU doesn't carry Dallas, and Kansas doesn't carry Kansas City, then is UNLV carrying Vegas?
No, it's now a pro.
If anybody is though, it's them as far as college athletics goes.
Yeah.
All you got to do is get hot, and you've seen how UNLV got hot with Jerry Tarkanian. Granted, they were cheating to death, but. You saw how much of an impact that made in old Las Vegas, not this newer Las Vegas where, it's now a pro sports town. That one's very intriguing. I saw that brought up yesterday by some of the Pac-12 folks. They were talking about Houston and saying, if the Pac-12's they're not expanding right now, but let's just say if they were to, well, the top team on the list would be Houston. I think it was John Wilner that said that. And then somebody else brought up UNLV because of that Las Vegas market, because of the fact that the city's growing so much and the money involved and all of that. So, yeah, that's an intriguing team. I think that would be more of a Pac-12 fit, although I did see a Pac-12 fan that immediately was like, are you kidding me with their academics? And I don't know everybody's academic status, so I have no idea if that's legit or not. But I saw some pushback to that, but that is an intriguing school for sure because of where they are.
Respond to that and then take a couple more chat room. If they were, why would the Pac-12 not have already talked?
No, that's true. Yeah.
And so
from
BYU, right?
From Joey Foster, Hell yeah, let Houston in. So watch West Virginia kick Holgerson's blank for destroying our recruiting.
See, that would be a fun little new rivalry, Holgerson versus his old Mountaineers program. And I think, like I said yesterday, it doesn't have to be the death knell that it appears to be. Yes, you're losing your blue bloods. Yes, you're losing your teams that have won the most titles and all of that. But at the same time, if you look at this with not the same old viewpoint that you've always had of like, we're just like the ACC and the SEC and the Pac-12, we're Power 5 and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, like while you've been doing that the whole time, all those other conferences have been making moves to surpass you. You've got to take innovation and ingenuity by the you-know-whats and do something new and different. And I think you've got the opportunity here where you're probably going to be adding at least 4 teams, right, to get back to 12. And then you also have to account for maybe even future departures beyond that in several years. So maybe even go farther than that. But I think you could create some cool new rivalries. I think there'd be those new trips, just like what Texas and Oklahoma are looking forward to. It's not the same level, of course, but there are some rivalries that could be created or rehashed and brought back up. Houston, Baylor, Houston, TCU. And there's several others depending on who you add into the mix. So I think they've got a chance to kind of do something cool and new. And no, it's not going to be, top level, but it could be their own thing and be the alternative in a way.
All right, here's from the 681, and then we break and come back with Grayson Grundhafer from Sikkim365.com. One thing to remember, the Big 12 expansion plaintiffs in a civil suit have a duty to mitigate their damages. It is, in a sense, negligent to stand by and sustain maximum amount of damage to your league when there are other ways to mitigate. It makes sense financially and legally to plug up the leaks as much as possible and as quickly as possible. Also, consider turning Big 12 into meritocracy. Give each team a base minimum TV payout, but yearly allocate more money to teams with the biggest TV draw and or on-field success. Just a thought.
I think that, but then that becomes a slippery slope because you can go on a 10-year run. Like you get to be a dynasty and you get a 10-year run of doing it, and then somebody else is not. Yeah, I think it needs to just be even across the board.
You know what I wish the Big 12's name was? The American Conference, not because if you can go a little bit to the west and go even more to the east.
How about
and you really are.
How about the Big American Conference? But the way you do it, Big America, that might be like a buffet place somewhere. I don't know. I do think there's about mitigating your losses. Yeah, I think if you're going to go to court and your defense is woe is us, and the lawyers for Texas and Oklahoma go, well, why did you guys?
What the hell have you done?
We were not letting you add people, but now we're out of the way. Like you're not doing anything.
All right. Yeah, I think you got an equal share still because here you have an opportunity to have everybody on the same page for the first time in Big 12 history, right?
You hope.
There's no, and if you don't, then, whoever's a problem child, expel them for life because there should be no egos in this group of teams right now. TCU, Baylor, Tech, West Virginia, go down the line. Not a single school has a reason to have an ego right now. Not a single one of them. So you're all in the same boat. You're about to have some new people jump into that boat with you most likely. How about instead of having the way things were with your previous regime where you did have 2 teams that stuck out more so than others and basically called all the shots and made all the moves behind the scenes and had all the pull and did all the politics, now you can do away with that. You could have more of an even playing field. So I think that's why you would equal revenue share because it made sense to look beyond that with how much money Texas and Oklahoma were bringing in. But I think this is going to be more of a lot more similar teams across the board, no matter who they add in with the remaining 8.
Here's one more. This is our name is Caleb, OU fan from Bakersfield, California. When the Big 12 expands, they should add to 16. And he mentions a bunch of the teams. Yeah. We got to break. Grayson Grundhafer, Andy Staples of theathletic.com and the Brigham Young story today. We're on YouTube 365 Sports, on the app Sikkim 365 Radio. Back in a moment, live from just outside of Austin, Texas. Woodway Family Center, clinics at the park happening this fall for 4 consecutive weeks. 2 days a week. Woodway residents, you get a discount. Coaching is fantastic. Some who have played the game at the collegiate level or higher. Flag football at Whitehall Park for 5 to 10-year-olds and sand volleyball at Pogue Park for 8 to 11-year-olds. More sports coming on top of that. You can go to discoverwoodway.com. The 2021 Woodway Wine and Food Fest is tomorrow. Tickets are almost sold out. You can contact discoverwoodway.com. Music, wine tastings, delicious food samples, and more. That is tomorrow. Go to discoverwoodway.com for more information, and you can learn about upcoming events, things to do on the weekend, hotels. Download Discover Woodway app in the App Store and on Google Play at discoverwoodway.com.
Escape the mundane with the responsive power and exhilarating agility of a new Cadillac from Richard Carr Cadillac. Smile behind the wheel again in the supercharged sophistication of a CT4 or CT5 sedan, or the sporty and spacious XT4, XT5, or XT6 lineup of SUVs. Starting at only $33,395, the Cadillac of your dreams is waiting now at an affordable price at Richard Carr. Test drive from the expansive selection at Richard Carr Cadillac, or let us bring a test drive to you. Go to richardcarcadillac.com to schedule a test drive today.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors. Elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Life is back on, sports bettors, and BetUS has your NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, UFC, PGA, and yes, NFL betting lines up for their 27th year and live betting on all of it. Log into BetUS.com or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BETUS. BetUS for 125% bonuses with promo code SICK'EM125. Customer service pros are ready to get your phone, social, and online sports betting kickoff started now. Play with the proven mainstay in the industry. BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'EM125.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Grayson Grundhafer of Sikkim365.com. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Grayson Grundhafer is Sikkim365.com's recruiting analyst. He and Craig Smoak, they do a Bearcast every week on Tuesdays. It's an hour plus of everything you'd want Baylor. He joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. So, Grayson, At least the Big 12 appears to be trying to put or formulate maybe a plan. Yes, that's nice to know. And then there was the story today about Brigham Young. If you were to expand, if you were in charge of the Big 12, would you go 2 or 4, and who would your first 2 be?
Yeah, so I think personally I would probably go with the 2 route. And the reason for that is just because I think the value that you get with those 2 schools is very good. And I have 2 schools in mind that I think enhance the Big 12's footprint, but also I think it enhances the quality on the field. So when you talk about some schools that I think would be very interesting, BYU is definitely one of those schools. I think that they would enhance that footprint out west to give you some connections out there. BYU, very successful program as well. The other program that I have a lot of interest in, and I think it makes sense geographically to link in West Virginia a little bit, make this school kind of their rival in the Big 12. And also I think it just enhances the quality of the conference, is Cincinnati. They have a really good coach in Luke Fickell. They have a really good program that just continues to be on the rise. So those 2 markets really intrigue me significantly. But outside of that, once you get from those 2 and you start looking kind of broader than that, UCF makes some sense. So I get that if you want to get up to 12 schools, they make some sense for number 11. But it's that other school that I just really struggle with. Who do you add? Because for me, I don't think that any of the schools in Texas are a wise decision for the Big 12, because that just kind of waters down the talent pool between Texas Tech, Baylor, and TCU, of course. And even though they'd be the most natural fit, I just don't think it's a smart decision for the Big 12. So I would go BYU and Cincinnati, with UCF kind of being that one school that I definitely have interest in, but I just don't think they make it this time around if the Big 12 were to expand a little bit.
Yeah, see, I disagree with you a little bit. I would put Cincinnati third, because UCF is just a massive school. I'd want, if I'm trying to expand, and like TV markets are a muddied thing and all of that right now and streaming, I would just want the biggest alumni base. That's what I would try to run.
Well, in the story earlier this week that we had, where they were going to put in like $300 million into facilities. Now, that doesn't always mean that means you get to go to the next level, but that's a good thing, because I think they've tasted this success and they're kind of thirsty right now. So who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, and Paul, I think you're on the right track. I think you have to like both schools for different reasons. Obviously, UCF was very, very, they had so much momentum under Scott Frost, and Josh Heupel did a nice job there. But I just think that at the end of the day, I really like the Cincinnati culture. But to be honest, for those 2, I think they're both very replaceable. I understand the reasoning for both of them. And if I were to add, get up to 12 schools, personally, I think I would probably go UCF and USF. I just think it makes sense to add that Florida pipeline to the conference.
Grayson, any further idea on how much this has been a conversation amongst recruits that potentially are considering schools like Baylor or, obviously Oklahoma and Texas? I mean, have you got any sense of what this has done to recruiting over the last few weeks?
Yeah, I've had a lot of conversations with recruits about this. And to be honest, the ones that seem the most, I don't even want to say nervous or scared. That's not the right word, but it's basically they're intrigued by what's going to happen. They're kind of focusing in on that. And I know multiple 2023 recruits have talked about that, which those guys are juniors. They won't be signing in December. They'll be next December. But those are the guys that I'm really kind of talking to the most about it, because 2022 kids, they just love Baylor. And Baylor's been their school. Obviously, it's late in their recruitment. It's just a different part in their life that they're currently at. And I think that for 2022 kids, unless something crazy comes out, like Baylor officially is going to be American, or Baylor is officially not a Power 5 school, if that were to come out, that would be an issue. But at this time, I just don't think it's going to affect that class. It will affect the other classes, 2023, 2024. And a lot of those conversations are just, where's Baylor going to end up? Do you want to play out in the West Coast when you're from Texas? Do you want to, stay in Texas? Is the American more appealing? And for most kids that I talk to, I would say that they would rather the Big 12 stay together, first of all. And second of all, they just want Baylor to stay Power 5 because that's obviously a goal for many, many recruits. It's just a separating factor for programs like Baylor when you go up against a school like Houston or SMU. And so that's kind of where things are at right now.
But you don't think in any way, shape, or form, maybe there's somewhat at some point, because there's a long way between now and December and signing day or February, you don't see today's current landscape or the environment affecting what they have locked in for what appears to be December?
So I would say I haven't heard anything that is concrete that is like, if this happens, I'm leaving. But I will say I get what you're talking about, because there have been 22s that are a little bit nervous or skeptical about what's going to happen to Baylor. And like I mentioned, if something concrete comes out like, hey, Baylor's going to the American, yes, that would be an issue for the 2022 class for sure. But if they go to the Pac-12, I would say the Pac-12 is kind of, it's like American, then Pac-12, then ACC, then obviously any other conference. But I think recruits would rather, if Baylor were to join a Power 5 conference, I get the feeling that most recruits would rather it be the ACC versus the Pac-12, just based off conversation.
Grayson Grundhafer with us, SicEm365.com recruiting analyst every Friday at 3:45. Grayson, I think Zach Pyron, is he the quarterback commit from Alabama? Has he already played in a game or two? I saw some notes, kind of some moments on Twitter. Is that correct?
Yeah, he's played in scrimmages, and then they have their first official game, I believe, tonight. I know he had a big touchdown run. The schools and the schedules go off. They're very different when you're in Alabama versus Texas, but I believe his first game is tonight. And then I know they had a big scrimmage last weekend. He broke off a 75-yard touchdown run. Obviously a very, very good player, and is going to add some really quality depth to their quarterback room. And it wouldn't shock me if he really contended for possibly starting in the near future. I don't know about year one, but I do think he's going to be a very, very good player. And yeah, his season's kicking off. I know most of the Texas kids are kicking off this weekend, but Jordan Neighbors, actually the star wide receiver out of Rockwall Heath, he had a great game last weekend, caught a couple touchdown passes from Josh Hoover, who's a really, really good quarterback recruit there. They have Jay Fair as well, another really good 2022 wide receiver, a 4-star guy. So that offense is humming, and Jordan Neighbors appears to be a massive part of this year, which is really intriguing.
We got to go. Thanks for your time, but I want you to say one thing about Gary Bohannon winning that quarterback battle. For now, we don't know from week to week, but at least he's the first one the first week. In the end, what do you think was the difference?
He went out and earned it, and this was a battle. We've talked about it ad nauseum so many times, and he just went out and really proved that he's going to get this offense from point A to point B the best. And I think that's really the key part of this, is that he's going to get you first downs. He's going to move the chains. He's going to be methodical, and his legs are going to allow you to keep your defense on the sideline, ride just a great defense, and then also have that explosive playability with him in the run game and also the pass game. I just think his maturity, his ability to recognize, hey, I need to make these improvements and actually go out and do it, was the difference at the end of the day. So Gary is QB1 for the first game, and I think he's going to do a really nice job. He definitely opens up some areas of that offense that could be really intriguing for Jeff Grimes and Sean Bell.
Thank you. Grayson Grundhafer, Fridays at 3:45. He has so many articles up, that recruiting stories about players, prospects, all of that, constantly in the SicEm.com premium section online. When we come back, Andy Staples, theathletic.com, and the story about Brigham Young and the Big 12. His thoughts about that, where all that may have started, and how legitimate is it that that could happen pretty quickly, or is that just more possibility? SicEm 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
BetUS.com has been serving clients for 25 plus years and prides themselves on being known as America's favorite sports book, with action guaranteed in every sport. almost across the world. They've got your game, and BetUS offers the industry's biggest retail bonuses to keep their players betting longer. For example, how about these promo codes? SICM125, that's 125% bonus on cash if you use our promo code, if you open an account over $100. And SICM200, it's 200% if you use crypto. So can't beat those deals right there. SICM125 and SICM200. And the BetUS loyalty program is legendary. They keep their players up to date with articles, players, teams, stats, trends, giving you the right tools to make the best wagering decisions. It's BetUS.com, promo code SICM125 and SICM200.
Is going on now at Allen Samuels with the all-new 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee L, now arriving and in stock. This beautiful, rugged third-row seat carries the prestigious Jeep heritage. The 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo, with values of $3,500 or 0% for 48 months, plus $2,000 in bonus cash. Allen Samuels.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8-year-old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red meat potatoes, sausage, corn cobbettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasoning, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Daniels 7 yards deep in his own end zone, and he's going to be sacked, and that'll be 2 points for the Bears. Terrell Bernard.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
There was a story yesterday evening about the Big 12 with a subcommittee on expansion, and one of the ADs, Kirby Hocutt, was at a get-together with Texas Tech alums and fans and mentioned Mack Rhoades, and that was confirmed by me later on, not that I needed to. The reporter in Don Williams is very good in Lubbock. And then the Big 12 seriously discussing Brigham Young. Sources say TV numbers are in the Cougars' favor. Max Olson, who was on with us yesterday, and Andy Staples of theathletic.com with us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Andy, seriously discussing, does that mean that maybe an invitation is all but imminent?
I don't know about that. I mean, the timing of this is pretty flexible because they don't have to do anything right now. You know, this could take a while, or if everybody's in agreement, then they can go ahead and do something. But I don't know that there's any rush to add members right now at the Big 12. I think they need to kind of figure out first, what's the master plan? How many, how big do you want to be? What do you want the league to look like? Time zones, that sort of thing. How's that going to work? But if you look at anybody who's on the board, BYU is the one on the board that a conference, including BYU, probably makes more for the current 8 members in the Big 12 that are going to stay in the Big 12, probably makes them more than a conference without BYU. And so there just really aren't other options on the board that would offer that.
What, in your opinion, would a new, say, 12 to 14 team Big 12, what can they realistically expect with payouts? Because I wouldn't imagine it would be near the $40 million that they're getting right now.
No, and it probably wouldn't. And so, payout that includes college football playoff money, NCAA tournament money, all that. Because remember, the close to 40 million piece of that is TV money plus all that stuff. So, I think realistically it's more like 20, probably, maybe a little bit less than that. And so that's the part they got to look at. And I don't know if a 12 or 14 team league does that. I think you may be talking about a 10 team league that does that, because the bigger you get, I'm not sure that brings that much more money.
Andy, any indication on the Texas-Oklahoma side of things and their planned exit? Obviously, it's completely open, but do you have any, insight on to when we might see a timeline emerge for those two schools?
They are prepared to wait as long as they have to wait. They're prepared to wait it out. They don't want to, and I guarantee you they have some very highly paid attorneys working on figuring out if there's a way to get out of there earlier. And there probably will be negotiations at some point with the current members of the Big 12 to try to figure out what's the soonest, what's that going to cost. But, right now, everybody's mad at each other. And I know from at least definitely the Oklahoma side, they'll sit there if they have to. They would rather not, but they'll do it if they have to.
Andy, there's always this, we've taken literally hundreds of chat text calls the last month since all that started with Oklahoma and Texas, that the AAC, and we heard the story about Bob Bowlesby, who put the cease and desist out there. Why would the Big 12 go to a conference that's not a Power 5 or any of them, rather than the opposite way when you hear about the AAC being a possible option for teams?
Because Mike Oresco, the commissioner of the AAC, is smart enough to know that you have to be aggressive in a case like this, because there's a chance that you're going to lose your best. And so here's why you would want to be aggressive if you're the AAC. What if, say, the Big 10 had wanted to take somebody who's still in the Big 12, or the Pac-12 had wanted to take somebody? Now, they don't, and they're not going to. But if they had, all of a sudden the Big 12 is extremely unstable, and the American starts to look like a better option to the teams that are left, or to some of the teams that are left, some of the schools that are left. But since that didn't happen, if the 8 remaining Big 12 schools stay together, that's a more attractive league than the American. And they should be able to pick off the best of what the American has if they want.
Do you feel like the alliance that was announced, which to me was I don't know what that. I'm not trying to downgrade it, but you snickered.
Downgrade
too.
Away.
Yeah. Okay. It was a nothing burger. But do you feel like
that's exactly what I said?
Did you feel like that also them not asking or talking to the Big 12 about this was because they knew that the Big 12 is vulnerable and it would just like possibly, they don't want that thing to fall apart?
No.
Okay.
This is the part where your listeners don't like what I'm about to say, and you probably don't like what I'm about to say.
That's okay.
They did it because they think they're much stronger than the Big 12 and in a much better place than the Big 12, and they will have more power together and don't want to dilute that power with a league that they don't consider to be on their level.
Nothing wrong with truth serum.
I want to go back to something you said a second ago, and this is for our listeners, of which multiple times a day we'll get calls, texts, emails about, well, Kansas is clearly going to the Big Ten, and West Virginia is clearly going to the ACC, and so-and-so is going to the Pac-12.
Oak State and Tech to the Pac-12.
Yeah, all of those things. You said, and I want it reiterated, that they're not adding people, and they're not going to. For our listeners who will never believe that, explain why they won't.
So everything is different in this round of realignment. The last round of realignment was all about territory acquisition. It's about get more cable homes in your conference footprint and make more money off your cable channel. That's why for the SEC, once they got Texas A&M and the 10 million cable homes of Texas, they didn't go get Clemson or Florida State. They went to Missouri, where they didn't already have a school in the state, to add 2 million more cable homes to the footprint. And that's why the Big Ten added Rutgers and Maryland, which contribute pretty much nothing competitively, but contribute tons of cable homes in the tri-state area for Rutgers and in the DMV for Maryland. But now the cable industry has changed. People have cut the cord. Non-sports fans have figured out, why am I paying for ESPN when I don't watch it? Why do I pay $7.50 a month for one ESPN channel when I don't watch it? And so you've lost 20 to 30 million of those people out of that system. So now the economic drivers are different. The economic drivers for this round of realignment are, how many games can you create that people feel like they cannot miss? And so when you can create Oklahoma, Alabama, Texas, LSU, Oklahoma, Florida, Texas, Georgia, those are games people feel like they can't miss. That's the type of school that can move into a different power conference. The ones who are not in the top third of their league, they're not moving anywhere. Like even the bottom half of the SEC, the bottom half of the Big Ten, most of the ACC, if they wanted to move right now, everybody would be like, no, we're good. Like, you have to kind of be Oklahoma, Texas, USC level to even be a candidate.
I know that there's somebody writing you a strongly worded email right now and say, well, not stand for your Kansas versus Purdue is not a can't miss game.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is the problem. So what happened, let's say we'll use Kansas as an example. AAU member, great. Big Ten loves that. Geographically contiguous, great. Big Ten loves that. If anybody in the Big Ten brought up adding Kansas, the immediate response from Purdue, from Northwestern, from Indiana, from Minnesota would be, why would we take a pay cut to add Kansas? Yeah. You've got to be able to add enough that everybody else makes more money. And that's the issue right now.
Andy, where are we on the college football playoff and expansion? Saw Gordon Gee's comments, seen various comments over the last couple of weeks. Seems like it's kind of at a stalemate, if anything, but where would you say we are as far as that process goes?
Yeah, everybody's going to throw their little temper tantrum about the SEC making a move, and then they're all going to come back together and realize that the plan that was proposed, which Bob Bowlesby was a part of the proposal as well, the plan that was proposed works the best for all of the leagues involved. Like, Gordon Gee can say and can vote no on it. It's the dumbest thing you could possibly do for the Big 12. I would assume that once Texas and Oklahoma leave, the Big 12 would like to participate in the college football playoff, would like to get a team in every once in a while. Well, you're going to have to say yes to an expanded playoff that has automatic bids for conference champions. Otherwise, that's probably going to happen very infrequently. So, I mean, if you're Gordon Gee, you can voice your displeasure right now and vote no right now, which means it won't happen in 2023. and that's perfectly understandable. And I don't blame the Big Ten or the Pac-12 if they want to say, hey, we want to all be in the room when this gets hammered out. So can we do it this way? And that takes a little bit longer, and that's fine. But the fact of the matter is, Kevin Warren from the Big Ten has said he's a big fan of playoff expansion. George Kliavkoff from the Pac-12 is a fan of expansion because he has to be, because the Pac-12 would like to participate. So Gordon Gee can be mad all he wants, but there will come a point where the other Big 12 presidents will be like, you're not voting no this time, because we need this.
Andy, a question about Bob Bowlesby and the Big 12. They seem to be, whatever happens with the Brigham Young or a UCF or whoever else may be in the discussion, and they have this subcommittee, they almost seem like they're stuck because they have to play the waiting game, and yet they don't know exactly when Oklahoma, Texas are leaving. And can they be aggressive at the same time or not?
Well, that's my question, and nobody's been able to give me a satisfactory answer to that.
I can't get it either. Yeah.
I think the smartest thing the remaining 8 schools can do from a financial standpoint is to squeeze as much money as possible out of Texas and Oklahoma, whether that's waiting them out or getting them to write a giant check, or some combination of the two, like waiting 2 years and then saying, okay, now we'll take this amount and you can leave because we hate you and you hate us, and bye. I think that would be probably the most logical thing. But the part I can't figure out and the part I can't get a straight answer on is, if you added schools now and had them coming in, does that change or give Texas and Oklahoma an out?
Yeah.
Because if I'm the other 8, I don't give them any sort of out. I force them to either stay so I can get that money in a revenue sharing agreement, or write checks so we get that money one way or the other.
Yeah, that
I agree. No, that's what I've been saying the whole time. Absolutely.
And we can't get anyone to say, no, we can go expand and it doesn't affect whether they pay us or not. And that's
the only part of that that makes sense is the bylaws say that you got to have 8 of 10 yes votes to expand. So essentially, I don't know what Texas or Oklahoma would do. Would they vote no just to be difficult? If they would, that means you'd have to have basically unanimous among the other members to decide if you want to expand. That part I understand, but I don't know, and I'm not sure. It might be one for the lawyers. Can they add somebody without giving Texas and Oklahoma an out?
Did you just say that Texas and Oklahoma may want to be difficult?
No.
Hey, Andy.
Exactly.
I know there's a lot going on. You guys at theathletic.com, I say this all the time. We've had other writers. Max was on with us yesterday. What you're doing there is incredible. It's the only subscription site that I get on other than the company that we work for. And, of course, I get a free pass to that. It's worth it. It's great. Thanks for your time and appreciate your access today.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for the plug, because we love doing it.
Yep, you can tell. Yeah, theathletic.com and Andy Staples, he and Max Olson tell you that story about Brigham Young, the title, the Big 12. Seriously discussing Brigham Young. Sources say the TV numbers are in the Cougars' favor. We'll have former All-American, longtime NFL veteran Derek Johnson, who's from Waco, Texas. He's being inducted tomorrow in the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, along with many others, including DeMarcus Ware and Clint Dempsey, and Teresa Weatherspoon is one of the great all-time women's basketball players, and so many others. Charlie Waters. There's a lot of names coming in that are high level, and he's going to join us. And boy, there are a lot of things to get to with him. One, his thoughts about Texas and OU, and also just about the start of and about being inducted into what the state of Texas, with all the great names, is immortality as well.
You know what? Going back to BYU for a second, just to wrap up Andy's call. If you think about Notre Dame and why Notre Dame has their own TV deal, is that because of their association with the Catholic Church and being the large Catholic university that they are, they can guarantee that when they have a football game, TVs in all 50 states will be watching them.
I think, yeah.
There are schools, there are big, gigantic schools that maybe can't make that same thing because their teams aren't as good. are not good all the time. So
but like in Fargo, North Dakota, are they always going to be watching USC?
No, it's exactly so. Yeah, maybe, but but BYU is the same way in that, like, if BYU is going to be on TV, there are televisions in all 50 states that will be on it because there are people who went to that school or have a religious affiliation to that school. That's why BYU is attractive. I can't say that about Stanford. I can't say that about Washington. I can't say that about Arizona State. Now, probably about school. Like, look, Alabama, when Alabama plays, they're on all 50 states.
We know that, but that was always the case.
No, it's not always the case. But, there are, like, okay, let's just take a middle of the road, like Kentucky. Probably not.
Basketball.
Yeah, but I mean, Kentucky football,
Football, no.
This is about football TVs. So, like, Kentucky football. Kentucky plays Auburn, and they're both good. They're both bowl teams. That's going to get a nice number for ESPN. They'll be happy with that, but it's not going to be the guaranteed.
But you don't know if somebody in Maine is watching that game.
No,
you probably.
But I have a good shot with BYU to know that it may not be a lot of people, but maybe there's some Mormons in Maine that are gotta watch the Cougars now.
But will they be able to watch Brigham Young at Ramstein Air Force Base in Germany, Mexico City, and inside the White House? Yeah. Because that's part of our audience. We got to let them know, right?
Exactly, yeah. So
a lot of you have been texting. The chat room continues to fire away. We'll have Derek Johnson here momentarily. Anything, Craig, to tag on to what Andy said? And again, there's that question. I keep saying this, and there's frustration from fans or audience. Well, they got to go do this, and yet I don't know if they actually can. And if they can't, then they just have to sit back and wait. It's like a slow death, isn't it? Like watching yourself die.
I mean, not really. To me, it'd be a slow death if you knew that Oklahoma and Texas were leaving soon and there were no other options. But they're sitting here today. We're talking about them adding BYU, which would be the opposite of dying. It would be staying alive.
And no matter what, they're set through 24.
Yeah, I mean, they've got 4 more years minimum. And if you can't figure out something in 4 years,
you should die.
I mean, then you don't. Yeah, your program probably doesn't deserve to last in the space that it was occupying. Quite frankly, if you can't figure something out in 4 years from now. But I just think that he hammered home various points that, most people are starting to grasp onto as far as, what's this is really about. And, when people have brought up rivalries, that's why I said rivalries don't matter here. You got Oklahoma and Texas going to renew some rivalries, but that's just like a side product of it. Yeah, that wasn't intentional. They never said, hey, we're going to go here to reignite. No, they went to the SEC because it's money. Like, that's the only reason, and it's a higher spot on the totem pole. So we've been saying geography doesn't matter. Rivalries don't matter. All the things that college football fans care about the most don't matter in this. It really doesn't, and I think that's hard to kind of understand because those things seem so important. But for the people making the decisions,
tradition, pageantry, atmosphere,
doesn't matter. None of it.
That used to be college football, right?
The only tradition that matters is how many eyeballs you've attracted because of how much you've won. But as far as your exact total of national championships, or your exact total of All-Americans, or your Heisman, it doesn't matter. I mean, Oklahoma is not more attractive because they've got 7 Heisman and 7 national championships. No, they're attractive because they're a national brand. They recruits all over that gets great TV ratings. That's why they're attractive, not because of all the other stuff, not because of Stoops and Switzer.
Well,
none of that.
Because of that,
but because of, yes, okay, because of that, but not specifically because of those people or those wins or whatever. It's just the overall product. So, I mean, it's just a different realignment than what people were used to a few years ago. Big 12's got the ball in their court right now, and they better be careful with the dribble.
When we come back, Derek Johnson, former All-American linebacker at Texas, about to be a part of the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. That is tomorrow night. The great Brad Sham will MC that event in Waco. We are live just outside of Austin, Texas, in Round Rock. Tonight we have high school football at 7 o'clock on Sikkim 365 Radio and also 365 Sports on YouTube between Midway and Round Rock High School. We'll get into some of that as well. This show on Fridays when we're on location and also when we're in Midway, which is just on the southern part, of course, of Waco, brought to you by Burt Colgin Ford. And thanks to Mark Stewart and his great staff on Loop 340. Burt Colgin Ford, supporter of the Built Ford Tough Texas High School Football Players of the Week. And this is 365 Radio. PettyClinicLowT.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, maybe used to be. What do you mean by that? What do I mean by that? What does he mean by that? As you get older, your testosterone levels can drop. It's just part of father time. And so 1 out of every 3 men have symptomatic issues when it comes to low testosterone. Sleeping habits can be kind of screwed up. Your energy, you could become very lethargic if testosterone drops, and you could lose your sex drive. Dr. Kent Petty, if you go to his site, pettycliniclowt.com, top left-hand corner, email and phone number, contact him, tell him I sent you, and tell him, I may have a little bit of that. And if it's the case, don't worry about it. It happens. It's part of father time. And so he will set you up, get lab work, get your blood work. He'll get your test results. And if your testosterone levels are too low, Dr. Petty can put you on a program to help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, that you used to be, and that you need to be at pettycliniclowt.com.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. He cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Since its inception, Pickup Outfitters has remained politically neutral. We love trucks of every persuasion, not just red and blue ones. But people keep asking us where we stand, and for this one time, we're going to break our neutrality. We oppose any government intervention or legislation to end truck nudity. We believe in the American right to drive nude vehicles. We think it's disgusting. We fight it every place we can, and we want to end it, but we want to end it the right way, peaceably. Therefore, we call on Congress and President Biden to respect the rights of truck owners. Our founding fathers didn't own a truck, but if they did, I bet they would have put a bed cover and running boards on their truck. The right to keep and bear your truck the way you want is fundamental to the fabric of this nation, and we believe in that right. So we urge you to come and take it at Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Erie Drive in Waco, on the web at createacommotion.com.
At Impact Research Institute, we can help you identify if you have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and measure for liver stiffness or scarring. If you or a loved one has diabetes, high cholesterol, hypertension, obesity, or concerns about your liver health, Impact Research Institute may be able to help by providing liver health screenings quickly at no cost, physician counseling, and opportunities to qualify for clinical trials. Visit us at impactresearchtx.com for more.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness was built to help give you a chance to enjoy an elite tennis facility, but also to remain fit and reshape your body. And ahead of the curve with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman and courts available. Like your body, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has gone through its own physical changes. Large flat screen stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available with their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Beautiful sound of members working out, running, lifting, stretching, group exercise, class classes throughout each day. Personal trainers Christy London and Randall Court. New look bar and lounge area with beer and wine with large flat screens. New touchless water fountain outside of each locker room, and both include shower, sauna, and whirlpool. And a world-class tennis court facility and youth academy led by Pro Britco. Fitness and tennis merchandise and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. It's time to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
We are live at Dragon Stadium in Round Rock, Texas. High school football started in the state last night. We have midway tonight against Round Rock High School and games throughout the state. All sorts of stories, and one of the great players and All-American, College Football Hall of Fame, Derek Johnson. He's a part of the Texas High School Football Hall of Fame and soon to be the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. Derek, thank you as always for your time. What does that mean to be from the state and be a part of the immortality when you're inducted tomorrow?
You know what? It's a dream come true. Whenever you tag Hall of Fame to it, to award, that's a pretty big deal. So I'm really excited for my family to be there to just to celebrate for job well done.
As a Waco native, does it mean even more to you that it is happening in your hometown?
You know what? It really does. You know, it's crazy being from Waco and being able to be inducted to the Texas Football Hall of Fame or the Texas Sports Hall of Fame to be in my hometown. It's pretty cool. My mom, everybody will be there, so it'll be just a welcome home for me.
Well, it's well deserved, well earned, and I'm fortunate enough to be on some of these committees and are in the rooms when they bring names up, and it's hard. I mean, there are a lot of people that don't even get on the ballot, much less get on the ballot and get moved into the Hall of Fame as well. Have you been to that lately? Derek, have you had a chance to go visit the actual museum itself?
No, tomorrow I'll be my first day, viewing it. But I tell you what, I'm so appreciative when you talk about the committee. I mean, that's a big deal. Like, I'm sure there's so many names, so many great players in their specific sports, not just football, that's trying to get in, and that have good reason to get in. But I'm just so appreciative and fortunate that I got in, and this is pretty cool, really cool.
Derek Johnson with us on Sikkim 365 Radio. What are your thoughts as a Texas football player? You have been a part of course, some of the greatness of what that program has done over the years. Not as much lately, but what are your thoughts about what is the pending move with Texas and OU to the SEC?
Well, Texas is just speaking of Texas is a big time school, regardless of the unfortunate seasons we've had. We've missed the mark too much the last few years, or even longer, I should say. But Texas standard is high. So regardless if we're going to be in the Big 12 for the next couple of years or going to the SEC sooner than later, we got to pick it up. We got to pick it up, and the standard is high, and we set that. I was part of the regime that set that high standard of winning at least 10 plus games a year, which is hard to do because everybody, when you play Texas, you're going to get their best. And my hat's off to Coach Stark and his coaching staff. I think he has a really, really stellar coaching staff. But the proof is in the pudding. You got to wait till the games come, and I'm rooting for him, obviously.
What do you think about playing A&M again?
I can't. That'll be awesome. That'll be awesome. I was part of the era that played OU and played Texas A&M, and those two games they're out of this mind, and it's something that you have to experience to know exactly how it was. But that'd be great. I don't know if Texas A&M are quite happy with us moving to where they're at, but I tell you what, at the end of the day, it's going to be a great rivalry that'll be set back in stone.
You went to Texas during a time when Mac Brown was feasting and really starting to take Texas to another level that led to a national championship. If, in fact, you were at Waco High today and the landscape included teams in the SEC today, A&M, would that have changed your mind at all where you went?
You know what? I, of course, it would have gave me more thought process. But I'll tell you what, being from Waco, being so close to the Burnt Orange, it'd be hard not to go there. It really would. But, you know, obviously I'm biased because that's all I know. But, yes, it would be a little bit more of a thought process if I was coming out today.
Well, how much of that? I mean, obviously, if Mac Brown's at Texas and doing that, Mac Brown's your guy, right? I mean, that's most of the reason you go to a place is because of the coach, isn't it?
Absolutely. And Mac Brown he's the ultimate recruiter. So you talk about parents in love and having that push from the parents saying, "Hey, I want you to go here," or "This seems like a good place." Because as kids, we look to our parents to give us advice. And I tell you what, Mac Brown had all the parents in the middle of his hand.
He had him in his hand, and now he's doing it back in North Carolina. He just got a 5-star guy. I mean, you're not surprised by that, I guess, right?
Not at all. I mean, this is what he does. He's the type of person that he likes to bring people together, coaches and players, and just get the best out of his product. And he's doing that now, so that's great.
Derek, you have, as you know, we've mentioned it, Paul mentioned it, born and raised in Waco and all the way through, and now where you are, and of course the great run in the NFL as well with Kansas City, the time in Oakland. What do you think of when people look at you here in Waco and have now since back when you became a star linebacker in like 2000, when you had the monster games under Johnny Tusa? What does it mean to you that people look up to you the way they do?
You know, I never take that for granted. It's to have the influence I have. I'm very fortunate. I don't take that for granted. My passion is working with kids and developing kids and actually helping kids so the next generation can be as, you know, leave a legacy like I did. And being a proud Waco, like a Central Texas person. It's wonderful, man. I can't wait to get back tomorrow. Of course, my mom still lives there, so I'm in Waco every other month. But I tell you what, tomorrow's going to be All
right, what running back do you not miss tackling?
Beast mode. I'll tell you that real right now. Yeah, that's easy. And, you know, Adrian Peterson, I mean, you got them all. LaShawn McCoy, I mean, these guys, I mean, certain guys got their own, you know, type of talent, but I tell you what, it just gives you a headache when you're trying to tackle these guys. But you know, of course, I've made some good plays on them. They made some good plays on me.
Derek, I know you got to go. Last question. New first-year head coach Lyndon Helt at Waco High. Yet another. The transition continues. Have you had a chance to visit with him much about taking over the program that has struggled, trying to get back to the roots of what Waco High football used to be?
I have, and I tell you what, you can tell the leadership from him. As soon as I even talked to him yesterday, I went to the Great Waco Chamber, the event at Baylor. I won the Dave Campbell Award, so I went there and I talked to him then. I tell you what. He's fired up. It's obviously it's a challenge because of where we were the last few years, but coaches really just take it, you know, one day at a time. But he's really eager that he can turn this thing around, and of course he's going to need some help from everybody. But I tell you what, I'll be down there this coming week, and I'll be talking to the guys and just to give us some inspiration.
Congratulations, Derek, on yet another honor that you not deserve. You do that, but earned because of what you've done on the field, but also what you've done with your life as well. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it. Enjoy tomorrow.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Derek Johnson, he will be inducted as will many others in the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. If you've never been there and you've been to Waco, and Derek will be there, he's now enshrined starting tomorrow. It is phenomenal. From the days of the Southwest Conference to the early days of Texas high school football to the Cowboys their first year in 1960. It has everything, videos, memories. It's a museum. It's the Smithsonian Institute of Texas Athletics.
Let's calm down a little bit. It's the Smithsonian. Like, there's a few more millions of dollars that go into the Smithsonian, but no, it's an incredible place.
Of Texas sports.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it is. It's got everything. You turn left or right. It doesn't matter what sport. It has it. They do an incredible job, and that will be tomorrow, of course, the induction ceremony as well. All right, when we come back, we are live in Round Rock, Dragon Stadium, just on the north side of Austin, Texas. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak. I'm David Smoak. Hayden Bumpus is here. Armstrong Sims back at our studio, running the mothership. And then later on in the night, we've got high school football midway and Round Rock at 7 o'clock on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports as well on YouTube. I lost connection for a little bit. I'll go back. We'll go back to the chat room, the text line, and much more. 365 Sports and Sikkim 365 Radio continues.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. And look, I'm maybe I need to make a stop. It's very hot. I wish it was much colder in this press box.
Cold white back. Sorry about that.
And but I need to stop by River Liquor and Wine because they've got a great array of high-end bourbons: Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas More, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service, a speedy drive-through window that rivals like a NASCAR pit stop. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Hi, Mark Stewart here with Bird Colgin Ford. Score big with Midway Football and Ford trucks. It's time to catch football fever and find the perfect Ford truck for your next tailgating party. The Ford F-150 has been America's #1 selling truck for 44 years, and Bird Colgin Ford has the perfect truck to drive for your next football game. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy the many truck choices at Bird Colgin Ford. Visit us anytime at bkford.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, wants to get you back in the game.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care
And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Life is back on, sports bettors, and BetUS has your NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, UFC, PGA, and yes, NFL betting lines up for their 27th year and live betting on all of it. Log into BetUS.com or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BETUS. BetUS for 125% bonuses with promo code SICK'EM125. Customer service pros are ready to get your phone, social, and online sports betting kickoff started now. Play with the proven mainstay in the industry. BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'EM125.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
All right, we're at Dragon Stadium in Round Rock, and we had something happen today that we want to share with you because it's with you. This show that we started, which was on Sikkim 365 Radio, and it's been on YouTube, started on April the 6th of 2020. Then YouTube was a part of the various ways you could get us. The app, it took a while because of COVID, and then online, and then now on July 1st, we had 2,600 subscribers to the YouTube channel 365 Sports. Today, we went over 10,000. We can't do that without you. Our sponsors are noticing. They have been noticing for a year and a half. We have noticed. We appreciate you. Thank you. 10,000 subscribers before we went on the air today from what was 2,600. And there's no doubt the story about Texas and Oklahoma and the SEC is what launched us into national type, I guess you could say, coverage. And you've grabbed onto it. And this is a text or a chat that want to share. We hope this is how you all feel. I absolutely love the show, guys. Try to listen every day. The thing I appreciate most is you don't just blow smoke, but do a great job of citing sources and having tuned in reporters. That's what we've always tried to do. Now, we're going to have opinions, or there may be teams that we like that make you mad, or teams that we don't want or don't bring up that might frustrate you, but we're just going to be honest about it.
Yeah, I can tell you, there's one thing I will never do on this show, and that's blow smoke. I will never do that. I will never, ever do that.
That's disappointing.
That's never going to happen.
If I had a Rocky Patel torpedo,
there's not even. No, there's nothing. There's not. That's not a thing that's ever going to happen.
If we had a cigar right here, you wouldn't.
No. There's not. It's not a thing I'm going to do.
It was right against the tip of your. You would not.
Okay,
okay.
I'm not.
Why did you even bring that up?
I had to. I could not do it. But I do think. That we maybe owe thanks to Texas and Oklahoma that we wouldn't normally give to them.
Let's send them a check.
Thanks.
I'll pay their way out.
They're doing fine. We can send them a gift basket on the way out with jams and jellies and appreciate that. It's weird how it's happened so fast, and I'm enjoying hearing from people from all parts of the country. I think it's great.
Yeah, thank you to everybody out there who's joined the YouTube page and subscribed, and we hope that it continues to grow and you continue to spread the word and tell people. I mean, obviously, realignment's not going anywhere anytime soon, even though this settles down somewhat. I mean, now we got to know what the Big 12 is going to do, right? And there's still the matter of Texas and Oklahoma and their exit timeline, and the matter of what this alliance means, and the matter of new legislation and what the plans are there. So, all the things that we're talking about, fortunately, aren't coming to a close anytime soon. And all of this has occurred without even a football season happening. that starts for us tonight. And so, yeah, just a massive thank you to everybody out there and everybody who's hit subscribe. For us to hit 10,000 means a great deal. And it means good things for our company, too. And we just want to keep growing that. So that's the best way to show your support. Then, some of y'all going even farther with the super chats on occasion.
Like Kenneth Maynard just now.
Well, thank you, Kenneth. And that's just been great. And look, you probably all knew us and be like, why are these Baylor guys talking about, college football? But none of us graduated from Baylor. We're just three guys who happen to cover Baylor because that's where life has brought us. But at the end of the day, we're major college football fans who are still going to cover, the school that we cover. But, we got plenty of thoughts on everything else that's going on just like you. So it's been great to hear people, like Paul said, from all over the country and in some cases the world, and their passion for college football and their opinions on college football and other topics as well, but mostly college football. And that's been fantastic. Just can't thank everybody out there enough.
But we have other things that we cover as well. And on occasion, you'll hear analysts on the Cowboys, or there will be interviews with Baylor football since that's who we cover. But we've had, like this week, UNT, Coastal Carolina as guest in UT San Antonio of this show. And high school football in the state of Texas, as you know, is a big deal, and that's why we're on the road today for a game later on tonight. And we'll get into some of the better games this week in Texas here momentarily. But also we have separated not all of that, some of that into a weekly show like we do with the Cowboys, with what Paul does with the Dallas Cowboys, with what Paul and JD do with the Big 12, the Big 1-2, with what Craig and Grayson do with Baylor and the Bearcast, and what I'm going to do again with the weekly high school show that debuted yesterday at 12 o'clock on Thursday on YouTube Premiere. From Kenneth Maynard, $1.99. Go 16 with Brigham Young, UCF, Cincy, East Carolina, Memphis, Boise, Houston. And we've had a lot of love this week for Colorado State. Here's another one from Nathan Harvey. A $4.99 super chat just says, congrats. Thank you. We can't do it without you, Nathan. You're part of that 10,000. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Absolutely, Nathan. Thank you. Thank you to everybody out there. Just been an amazing ride the last 6 weeks or so. I mean, we haven't really done anything all that different, quite frankly. It's just been a matter of catching the right attention, and sometimes that's all it takes. And hopefully this is just another little benchmark of many more to come and more growth to come. But, certainly couldn't do it with all the people out there. And, the previous comment about the 16, I mean, that is something I talked about a couple hours ago. I am very curious to see how creative, how innovative, and how outside the box the Big 12 is willing to go with expansion. I mean, first of all, we don't know exactly to them what does make sense value-wise and what doesn't quite make sense. But, I don't think you can just go 10 again, because I think you're going to find yourself in this situation 5 years from now all over again once the other grantor rights come up, right? So I think you do have to go and not only secure the present, but also secure the future as much as possible. So if there are more departures, since there has been a long history of them in the 20 or so year history of the Big 12, 25 years, however long it's been around, I mean, they've already had like 3 different waves of departures, right? So I'm just going to assume there's probably going to be another one at some point. So, yeah, you think you'd want to have the most teams that you could that still makes sense financially, but I don't know what that number is.
Jeff Grimm, Alabama fan, Roll Tide. Say it, Paul.
That's him.
Say Roll Tide. Craig said no. Go ahead, Craig.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
$19 on the Super Show.
Oh, wow. Yeah, absolutely. No, Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
And we appreciate that.
Shout out to Katie Engelson is the one that made me start doing that from Fox Sports Southwest. She used to be here in Waco, and I'd always give her I just have fun of Roll Tide because she went to Bama. So yeah, shout out to her as well.
She was on the dance team, I believe.
And you can never ever go through a day with the chat room doesn't a lot of times West Virginia fans take a little heat. There's Baylor fans who take heat. And now we're getting a little back and forth with some UT fans going back and forth with others. You know who never seems to get caught up in the heat?
Oklahoma.
Yeah,
they don't.
It's like, who else never seems to take any heat? TCU. You hear about Baylor and their small school. They're a larger school. They have better attendance, right? And TCU with Gary Patterson, they've beaten the hell out of Baylor ever since the 61-58. They've owned Texas 7 of the last 9, but they never are in any of this little what do you backwash? Not on
here probably because they're like they see a green color and they're like, no, I'm not listening to that. You know, like that's the main reason why.
Well,
but
they're missing out.
I've definitely seen toxic fans from every fan base.
I'm surprised though that they don't. I think part of it is if you're outside of Texas. TCU, like people only really know about them here, and then if you see them nationally, you think, "Oh, Gary Patterson's a good coach," and you don't realize that he's like a crazy Twitter monster who wants all the the kids to quit throwing frisbees in his backyard. I mean that's kind of how he is. And look, for better or worse, it's Gary Patterson. Like he has, I have seen him do things that I have no idea why a human being would care about it. He accused Art Briles of stealing plays after he beat him by 31 points. He, what else did he do? Oh, he after a game, said Gary Patterson lives in Fort Worth. You know where I live, mad about, Ahmad Dixon talking trash to him. Dude, you're the head coach. You got to he's a guy who hears all the noise.
Hey, Texas and OU love each other now, right? I mean, it's all kissy.
Apparently,
yeah, I guess so.
Not anymore. Texas, TCEP Central. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he is going after Oklahoma fans and did it with a word or two that we're going to have to kind of silence at least those particular chat rooms. So, okay, Texas, TCEP, you're now gone. See you. I'm sorry. You're gone. You're an idiot. And you can go find another show.
This feel good segment sure turned quickly by the end of it. Geez, we're just dumping on Gary Patterson, dumping on T-Sips, and well, thanks for the 10,000, everybody.
Thank you very much. But you represent the fan base that people were arguing with you about perfectly with that comment, by the way. 4:54 when we come back to 5 o'clock hour. We have at 5:30 Sam Bradshaw. He's S11 on the site and on Twitter. He breaks down X's and O's film and tells us why things either should or don't work or why they did work. And he's going to join us to start the 5 o'clock hour. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Responsive power, advanced technology, and exceptional agility all combine on a new Cadillac to bring a smile to your face on every drive. At Richard Carr Cadillac, they will find the right model for you, whether it's a smooth and powerful CT4 sedan starting at only $33,395 or the XT4, XT5, or XT6 lineup of SUVs and the style and size to fit your lifestyle. You can also get back on the road with the space, safety, and luxury of Buick. Right now, well-qualified buyers get 0% financing for 72 months on most 2021 Buick SUVs. And Richard Carr is also loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks. All pre-owned cars and trucks are priced to move during the summer savings event. Multiple models priced to get you back on the road this summer. Each pre-owned goes through a 172-point inspection before it ever hits the lot. With dozens of lenders, Richard Carr says yes when others say no. 100% credit approval is always the goal. And Richard Carr is your local hometown dealership, so give them a chance to earn your business with great prices, free oil changes on new cars and trucks, and superior service after the sale. So come by and take a test drive or let them bring the test drive to you. It's a summer savings event going on all month at Richard Carr, and they are owned and operated and run by loyal and proud Baylor Bears.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com.
U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Looking for the equalizer. He wants it all on one play, and he's got it. Beautifully designed. Ben Sims, the tight end, into the end zone for the touchdown.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Behind the scenes, Jack McKenzie, Armstrong Sims. Armstrong is in our studio at the corner of MLK and 101 Elm, running the mothership as we broadcast from just north of Austin and Round Rock at Dragon Stadium for a high school game tonight. In Texas, it all started last night. There's a game this weekend. Duncanville and Mater Dei out of California. #1 ranked team. I think, it depends on which polls. I think having national polls in high school football is a little bit silly because I don't know how you can do all that, but they now have enough cross-section games. We know how good Duncanville is.
But there's no okay, so let's just take Mater Dei and Duncanville. And what's the one in Massillon or whatever?
Massillon in Ohio.
Those kind of places, St. Thomas Aquinas and Fort Lauderdale. We know how good they are. And that, you can go any place and, what's the school in Tulsa that's really good?
Tulsa Union, isn't it?
Tulsa Union. They can go anywhere.
Jenks.
But
Jenks.
Jenks. And then, but are you telling me are you going to throw a school from Massachusetts on that thing?
Yeah.
Or maybe a school from Massachusetts should be on that thing, but because the rest of the, they don't play other competition,
maybe
you don't know.
Once in a lifetime, like a private school, and it doesn't have to be a private school, but there's schools in Louisiana, Georgia. I mean, but that game's going on this week. Duncanville, I bring them up because they They've been in a couple of state championships lately, and Reggie Samples does an incredible job. And they will talk about on the cusp of a championship. Remember, 2 or 3 years ago, and they had the Hail Mary when North Shore beat them. Was it Demetrius Davis, who's now at Auburn, who throws the Hail Mary, and North Shore beat them at the gun as time expired.
And look, if you want to know more about Duncanville, we'll be there in about a month.
Yeah, we will.
So you'll be seeing the show with a better setup than this. This is a little bit weird. We kind of had to figure this out on the fly today.
Well, you've done an incredible job, and Hayden was here to help it out. And Craig and I are here, and we really got here. Everything was pretty much set up. We appreciate it. Want to also welcome Kevin Schaefer. He and J.D. Piquel will do Connolly football tonight up in Waxahachie against Life High. That game will be on Power 108. We'll be on terrestrial radio 106.7. The Eagle, Jimmy Martinez, Hector Sabito and company, Chewy, they're helping us out with that. Now, here are some text messages. We put a clock on the callers. Today are on the road, so the call's not available. That's why we have the text in the chat. Let's go rapid fire after I'll read them. I don't even have to respond. When the Big 12 was considering expansion in 16, FedEx vowed to sponsor the championship game. Other incentives to bolster Memphis's bid. Perhaps they would be willing to do a similar offer to get them in this time. The money wouldn't hurt. Congrats on the success. That's from the 580. Thank you.
I would take Memphis for only that reason. I mean, I would. I mean, like, look, FedEx isn't running out of money. When's the last time you heard, FedEx is really sad about their money? No. And as a matter of fact, as the post office continues to struggle and our government continues to wreck that beyond belief, FedEx becomes more and more of an option for people sending things.
So successful, other companies were born because of them.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes.
Yes. Delivering things and getting them to you almost immediately.
Yeah.
Well, just earlier, Andy Staples said that this round of realignment's not so much about, geography and all that kind of stuff, but he did make mention that, why would they not be interested in some of these other conferences and some of these other schools, because they don't need another Texas team or another Oklahoma team or, they've already got some of these states covered, but the Big 12 doesn't have a whole lot of area covered. And so if you were to go get into the state of Tennessee with a program like Memphis, who does have some good backing, then yeah, I think that would be a potentially really smart move. I mean, I know we're really only focusing on football, but they could put together a pretty good little basketball conference as well.
And Penny Hardaway,
Amani Bates just went there, the number one recruit in the country.
What I'm saying. Yeah, so they are not just a football team that would be coming in. They'd also bring potentially a pretty good basketball program as well.
One more thing on Memphis, and look, they've been really good under different head coaches, whether it's Fuente or Mike Norvell or right now under Ryan, I forget his name. But the 3 coaches in a row that they've been good under, and they've had good running backs. If you've noticed, the same time that Memphis has been good, even like a bowl team, not great, but a bowl team all the time, Tennessee's been bad. You know why? Because Memphis has owned their area.
Memphis is an incredibly deep in talent, not just basketball. Used to be known
football,
for basketball.
Yeah, so they have a lot of athletic talent. They've owned their own city. So bring that into the Big 12.
Matt in D.C., one of the day one. Thanks for congratulations on the 10,000 coverage of all sports and guests. When I tuned in, is why I tune in now. National guests better than some of the major markets. Matt, thank you. The 507. I'm a Minnesota fan, living in Kansas State country. Been watching you all on YouTube for the past few weeks with Expansion Talk. Finally, subscribe. Congrats. And row the boat.
Hey, thank you.
Paul.
Thank you.
Paul, tell him thank you.
Thank you.
Say row the boat.
No.
Row the boat.
Thank you. Thank you to the 507. Row the boat. 813. So if the Big 12 goes 16, do they go to pods, become the first conference to start a conference playoff? Like you have 4 pod winners, semifinal. Yeah. I don't know. I've seen some, some people playing around with the SEC and pods, and I don't know. I didn't really like it. The examples that I saw, but you could go back to at least 2 divisions, though. I mean, that's something that you haven't had. You haven't had you right now. It's kind of cool because you do have the round robin. You play every single team. Now expanding, you're obviously going to not be able to do that as much anymore. So there's just so many things to think about. But again, this goes back to what I was saying earlier about being innovative and being creative and making something exciting. And maybe that's doing pods or going to 16. Maybe that's being at 12 and still doing a round robin somehow or something. But
Yeah, until we know the number, it's hard to say, but I think everything's up in the air right now.
What I do like about pods is that what I don't like about the SEC scheduling right now, and I don't know if it's this way in the Big Ten. I know it is a little bit this way in the ACC, but like you're in the same conference with some of these teams, and you play them once every 11 years.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I mean, look, I know that people are going to be clamoring for Oklahoma versus Vanderbilt, but if they keep the same scheduling model, if they just did the add 2 teams and do that, that means that Texas versus Florida is only going to happen once a decade, and so that's not what you'd want if you're the SEC. And look, if we're going to have this, I want to see the best games in the SEC. If that's why they're doing this, like Angie Sable said, what are the best can't miss games? Well, you're going to have to make sure the teams in the East and teams in the West see each other more than every 10 years. You
know what he should teach in college? Truth Serum 101.
Well, and look,
be good at it.
And he said it like he gave every reason. I want to pin that little segment of the video to almost everything we do, where he said, look, here's why it's not going to happen. And then every time somebody says, well, obviously West Virginia is going to the ACC, be like, no, obviously not. Here's why.
Yeah, I mean, that's been pretty clear now for a while, but they've got some very vocal fans, especially on Twitter, who, are always talking about sources and stuff and have been talking about realignment constantly. I've seen a bit of that, and, it kind of riles things up and keeps the conversation going. So, all just in fun.
From JB in Waco, the 254, I think they should go add Brigham Young and Boise, Memphis, Cincinnati, one of the New Mexico schools, even UCF. You have to know that you aren't going to get 6 of the best, because when the original Big 12 formed, it didn't even get the best 12.
That's
true. And
you're
right, because what happened was the Southwest Conference was a dumpster fire. And you talk about infighting. There's always a common denominator or two when it comes to that. So the Southwest Conference fell apart, and there were scandals, cheating, all that, SMU, TCU. They weren't the only ones. Everyone was kind of getting hit. So they're like, okay, wait a minute, Arkansas leaves. We got to figure this out. The Big 8 was just as comfortable and as together as you could ever imagine. They went to them, and guess what's happened since? People have left, and they've never been on the same page. And it's the fan bases as much as it is the ADs or whoever.
I mean, they brought in dysfunctionality.
But they did not have the strongest 12 when they started. But if you go back right now, and I was to tell you, tomorrow, and it won't, Nebraska's not leaving. Colorado's not leaving. But if you go SEC, they're not A&M. If you went back right now and I said, I'm going to give you 12. I'm going to give you the original 12. I'm going to give you the original 12. Would that be a Power 5 conference? You're damn right it would be, because it would include Texas, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Colorado, and Nebraska.
Yeah,
and Missouri.
It'd be like the number 2 conference is what it would be.
And
that's what they all could have had, but they were, there was too much, like you said, infighting, and it's lasted all these years later. And there's one common denominator throughout all of that. And, that's unfortunate, but that's just how it is. So, going back to the previous tweet, I just don't see how. I agree with a lot of the names you said. Those are a lot of the names that everybody's bringing up, the Cincy's and Memphis's and all that. New Mexico, I just can't imagine in any shape or form how that would ever even cross their desk and get more than just a half a second glance. I mean, there's not a market there. There's not a big population there. There's not history there. There's not. And I'm not trying to bag on those programs. I loved Larry Rose III, who played his college ball in New Mexico just a few years ago. Great young man from the area. But, they're just not really in the conversation. I can't imagine.
No, and going back to the SWC, if you remember in the waning years of the SWC, A&M and R.C. Slocum had taken kind of control of the league a little bit, and beaten Texas a few times in a row. I believe it was 93 or 94, and they were just off of probation, maybe, or just about to get the next year. But they were 12-0, went to the Cotton Bowl and lost Notre Dame on. They had a hook and ladder to Leland McElroy that had gone. It would have been the winning touchdown. But they were 12-0 and could not get a sniff at the national title. Everyone's like, no, this is about Nebraska and Miami and Florida State. You guys, A&M was 12-0, blowing people out, rolling through. And then when it came to those teams, there was a gap between the SWC and everybody else. And that's why, the Big 12 has to worry about now, because that's what happened to the SWC after Arkansas left. They became, 7-8 teams of nothing. Of just kind of.
I agree.
Well, quite frankly, that's been the case anyways. Yeah. It's just been that Texas hasn't mattered enough to be in the conversation, and Oklahoma's always get in the conversation. And then the others who have actually sniffed it, TCU and Baylor, we know what happened there. Yeah, Ohio State's really hot right now. Sorry, guys. And your commissioner doesn't want to make any actual decisions, so we're going to put the Buckeyes in. And look, they made the right choice probably overall, but that was already happening. First year of the playoff, Big 12 was already getting disrespected and was disrespecting itself with the behavior of the commissioner, which, is among the long list of things you can go and question now and go, there was a point where that was dumb and could have been different. And there's another one. There's another one. There's another one. Most recent one's the OU Texas stuff. I mean, and that's why, I know what Max Olson, he says with Bob Bowlesby, you can't really afford to do anything right now. But tell me why he deserves to have the job beyond when they settle things down. Like, I can come up with a long list of reasons why he's not been a good commissioner. Someone come up with a list of why he has been a good commissioner.
No, and look, there's no one's been able to do that job really well except for Chuck Nines, right. and he was only there for a few months, a year, maybe tops. So it's been
the
tough.
Commissioner spot's been dysfunctional. So of course the rest of the conference has been as well.
Yeah, and I think if you I wouldn't mind Bob Bowlesby having a higher job in the NCAA because I think that's really where his mind is overarching details and then the stuff that's going on in front of him.
It doesn't matter if he saves the conference or not. He was asleep at the wheel, even if nobody else in the country knew but 5 people.
Yeah.
You have to know.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. What
do we say about coaches who have programs that get in trouble?
Yeah, I mean, look,
and the excuse of I didn't know anything about it doesn't work anymore.
Well, it'd be one thing for him to not know. I don't really want to make this about Bowlesby now, but it'd be one thing for him to not know. But to say what he said right before that came out was what was so ridiculous and made him look so stupid and asleep at the wheel. And I'm not trying to be personal with the guy, but it made him look really dumb to be at media day saying we've never been better and more together. And 2 days later, your teams are leaving. And it's like, okay, dude, you have no grip on the pulse of this conference right now. And that's not good.
The whole time he's doing that, Texas and Oklahoma are walking around.
Talking, yeah.
And thank God, because it's great to get Lincoln Riley and also Steve Sarkisian. All right, let's do this. Break here, Paul?
No, let's go about 10 more minutes.
Okay, let's go. Here, I'm going to just go down. I'm going to go back as far as I can, just kind of flip through it. Here are some of the chat room comments. A Big 12 with Brigham Young, Boise, UCF, and Cincinnati is really respectable. This is from Michael Deitch. Memphis holds interest in Arkansas, like Arkansas holds interest in Oklahoma, especially Eastern Oklahoma with many Arkansas alums. From Brent on the AAC teams, there's just not enough eyes watching from these AACs.
And maybe not.
People say no to SMU. Guess
what's
what?
Your other option?
Yeah.
What's your other option? I mean, they are the most watched of the not watched. So, I mean, that's the best. Like, I agree, but that's the best you're going to do.
From Caden, people say no to SMU. Guess what? They have more students and better facilities than TCU.
Okay, that's I don't even know that for sure. I'm going to assume that you're correct on that. I've just never compared the two that way. But, yeah, TCU's already in. I don't think you want another TCU, another Baylor. Just my opinion. I mean, what would be the benefit of having 3 private schools all within less than 200 miles of each other, all basically in the same place? You know what I memean? Like Baylor's the farthest away. It's an hour and a half. So you'd have 3 tiny private schools all in North Texas, basically. I understand your comparison there, but yeah, it's value, and I don't know that SMU adds value.
Does any other major conference, Power 5 conference, have 3 private schools?
I don't know.
Well, let's see.
AAC.
ACC has Miami and Wake Forest and Boston College. So yeah.
Okay. All right. This is from Show Memo. Everyone here throws Cincinnati as if you own them, like they will jump to a dead conference as they are strong as the AAC. They will sit and wait. They know where their teams will go.
What?
Not sure exactly. I may have read that. I don't think I read that wrong.
I mean, I know what he's saying about people just assuming they would jump. I don't think that I think people are just throwing out options that would make sense. And if I remember correctly, was Cincinnati not heavily involved or rumored in the last Big 12 realignment 2 years ago? Yeah. I'm pretty sure they were, and I'm pretty sure I read a lot of Cincinnati tweets back then. So, no, I mean, they don't have to make a move, but I don't know what you're referring to, or I'd be curious to know what you're referring to that's coming up in the future that would be a better option than them getting Power 5 status, even if the Big 12 is not as desirable as it once was. I mean, I'd rather be in the Big 12 the way it is now than the AAC, so I have Power 5 status. Pretty simple.
From Marvin Todd, anybody but Houston, Baylor, and TCU and Tech can't handle the competition in Texas. Hell, bring Memphis, South Florida, UCF. You guys should be running the Big 12.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. All right.
Promise you I wouldn't have had a tiebreaker at the end of the year with a playoff spot on the line. I would have a slogan of one true champion and then not have a one true champion, even though there was head-to-head evidence. Wouldn't have done that. What was the slogan this year before Texas?
Unity.
Yeah, wouldn't have unity as a sign and then look like a buffoon when 2 days later my teams are leaving, my top teams. Like, how long do we want to play this game? Because we can keep going here.
You made your point.
I'm just glad it wasn't continents where, then we,
yeah, no kidding.
All right. Let me see here. This is from Richard McKinney. My dad's name when the Big 12 was formed was called the Dirty Dozen. Here's one from Michael again. People often ignore the actual matchup scheduling details for the SEC when it comes to assessing its reputation. It's enough to just be in the conference. It's just the best conference.
I mean, right now, yeah, that's true. It wasn't always the case.
But one of the things, though, it's yes. But they didn't invent football.
No.
They're really good. And here's the part about the SEC. That doesn't mean you don't have warts, bumps, and bruises, and it doesn't mean that you're flawless. We know what they do with one of those non-conference games, and the reason is, well, let's tuck it back. They tuck it because then we don't even know they're playing those games, and that allows you to hide a game that if you play it in September, everyone's going, why the hell are you playing so-and-so, right?
Yeah. They've done everything.
The fans will say it's a break for the really tough schedule.
But there's a soft belly in the SEC like there is in every conference, and it rotates a little bit.
Well, and they've really marketed their way out.
That's what it is, dude. It's so much marketing.
Why? Because ESPN owns their network.
Yes, of course. That's all it is.
And that's what they did.
Along with all the titles they won to back it up. Now, let's say they are the best brand.
Yep.
They are the best conference. They're bulletproof. They are probably going to have a national champion once out of every 2 years, if not for like 7 in a row. Had they not gone on that run where like Bama's dynasty started and then Auburn was winning a title and like they had a team in the mix every single year, then maybe it doesn't turn out this way because everybody would have just seen all that ESPN propaganda and been like, why do you keep hyping them up? They don't even, but like the fact that they did go and keep winning and won and won and won.
They won the big
while
games.
ESPN was propaganding it up. That's what really just lit the fire and set it off. And now there's not really a way to denounce that or deny that because they are the best conference.
But
a lot
State
of it
went in there and drilled them one
they
time.
did, but just one loss doesn't mean.
Ohio State, yeah.
But it was a lot of ESPN propaganda in the early 2000s. It absolutely was.
Yeah, and look, sometimes you know there are things in life where there's a ton of propaganda and like you think if you push something hard enough, it's going to come through the other side, but it has to have results. It happens a lot of times with political candidates. If you're aligned by a particular party, I'm sure there's some people like, I don't know if I really like this person, but like, I'm going to vote for them because I don't like the other guy. But like, I don't really buy all the stuff they're saying about him. I like to call
but the SEC does back
but
it
they
up.
do back it up.
But when they don't, it's not a costly loss.
Yeah, think about it this way.
Because they don't once out of every 10 times.
Yeah. Like when Hillary Clinton was running for president, the whole thing was, hey, she's like the Democrats, she's great. She's done this. And I don't think Democrats even really thought that. And they were just like, I don't know. I don't really like her. And for better or for worse, whatever that was, like, I don't really like her. And then eventually she lost because, again, she didn't have the backing. If you were just telling us all the time, Alabama and all the SEC is great, and the other best team's 10-2, you'd be like, hey, you know what? I'm tired of it.
I just feel like they have proven we can sit there and complain and moan and all that, and I'm not really doing that. I'm just saying when the big games are played, it's the exception when they don't win.
Well, Bama didn't want to be there, when they lost to Oklahoma in the bowl game. Like that is something that is annoying. Is that when they do lose on occasion, it's they didn't want to be there because this game doesn't matter, and it's like why even go that? Like just own the loss. Like why does everybody have to just pretend like they don't have any blemishes ever or anything? But. No, they went and backed it up. They absolutely deserve a lot of the celebration that they get, but a big part of it was the ESPN push and then them backing it up on the football field. But the biggest part of it is great leadership. That's what got them to where they are, was great leadership. being mindful of the landscape and saying, you know what, we got an opportunity to get into Texas with A&M right now. And, it just so happens, here's Johnny Manziel winning the Heisman in his first year in the SEC. Missouri, they're in the championship game, first year in the SEC. A few years later, what do? Texas and Oklahoma are available. Meanwhile, look across the rest of the country. Okay, the Big Ten's made some moves. They got Rutgers and New York market or whatever, but like Maryland, like whatever, like they got TVs, but I don't know that's really mattered as far as wins go. And then the others haven't really done much of anything. The Big 12's done the least of anybody. They've just lost teams and not really brought anybody into the fold other than TCU and West Virginia that one year. So I think leadership, more so than the ESPN push, and the winning obviously is right there with it. But it's the SEC leadership.
They had the godfather
that steered
of
them right. Yep.
He and Delaney at the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Right?
Mike Slive.
God rest his soul. Yeah.
Yeah, and Jim Delaney, I thought, was for a long time holding the Big Ten back. I mean, he was holding all of college football back, but he was about positioning the Big Ten to make as much money as it could, and he did. And now Kevin Warren gets to take over and ride that way.
Let's clean up 2 or 3 text messages. What is the timing for the Big 12 to decide what teams get in?
4 years.
Huh?
What is the timing for the Big 12 to decide what teams get in? Well, we know for sure the clock is ticking 4 years, 24, 25, if it even gets to that.
They got 4 years to figure it out.
Raymond from Waco, whatever expansion the Big 12 will have, has to play hardball, Fox Sports, TNT, whatever, TV. Expand. That's from Raymond and Waco.
I don't
Raymond,
think Turner's going to be involved in much. I think Turner's looking to focus on hockey and NBA, pro wrestling, that kind of stuff. I mean, maybe they could get involved, but I don't even know how much of a threat Fox really is, quite frankly. I mean, that's the thing. Is
they seem to be kind of disinterested.
Yeah, like they don't even see. They're supposed to be the big, competitor apparently, but it looks like if anybody's going to be a competitor, and we got to break up and pass out. But Amazon is potentially going to be like the one that could be the wild card.
Fox is about to lose the 2 biggest schools that they have with the Big 12, and they have the Big 12 rights.
I would say that the biggest, yes, and Fox also sold off all their regional sports networks and all those different things. So yeah,
by the way, the Dave Wanstead, what happened with that?
Yeah, nothing. And I'll say the biggest players are going to be Amazon and Apple and probably CBS and NBC because they have apps.
3-3-4, and then we take a break and come back with Sam Bradshaw. Big 12 picks the right teams. It will surpass the Pac-12.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean,
not as far as blue bloods go. They as like on paper, like established traditions and stuff, like they can never surpass USC. Who would be the next school that you would mention? I mean, because I don't really think of UCLA that way, honestly.
Oregon.
But yeah, I guess
I hear
they're
that.
new.
What
They're new.
I'm not disrespecting. No. They have all the money in the world, literally. They've been good at times. They've played for a title once. They had Dan Fouts back in the 60s.
No, I mean, let's see. As the value to the overall blue blood, I mean, Washington's much more important.
UCLA is like a lot of other schools, like a Tennessee, even worse in a way. They were okay. Gary Beeman in 67 won a Heisman. What else?
Since Troy Aikman, what have they done?
So my point is, looking at it, USC is not going to be topped by anybody that's left in the league. I mean, and then you could, if we're talking strictly football, then maybe there's 1 or 2 that are slightly above everybody else in the Big 12, but not by much. And as far as competitive and being in the mix, I actually think that could occur. Yeah, absolutely. I know that's crazy to say with Oregon and Washington. But if they all of a sudden have 14 teams, I mean, you tell me that nobody can rise up from that and go be competitive, if not a cluster of those teams. And these are all teams we're talking about that have beaten some Pac-12 teams in bowl games or at least been competitive with them that have been playing behind the 8 ball because they're not Power 5. So they don't even have that status.
Got a break. Good point. Here we go. Grayson Grunhafer started the show back at 3:45 with our guests. We've had Andy Staples. We've had Derek Johnson. And now coming up next, Sam Bradshaw breaks down what he sees might be effective and what could be effective and how it has to be effective for Baylor when it comes to Jeff Grimes and the offense. And this is Sikkim 365 Radio. Ideal MRI can save you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. You go, okay, how do you do that? Their average cost, the highest cost, not the average, their highest cost for an MRI is $497. The average MRI is $1,100. Ideal MRI's highest is $497. The average is $1,100. So you know that there are some much higher than that, $1,800, $2,000, whatever. And that's $497 or less for Ideal MRI when it comes to the highest of what it costs to get an MRI. Why do you need an MRI? Your doctor knows there's something that hurts. You've gone to your orthopedic surgeon, whoever it is. Oh my God, you have maybe a torn rotator cuff, a lumbar, a detached bicep. You've tore your ACL. Something's happened and they need to get an MRI. You tell your doctor. And it's worth traveling to where they are in Waco at the Central Texas Marketplace because of what money they can save. And on top of that, they can help you with insurance. Dr. Rob Maxey, Al LeBlanc, and the great staff at idealmri.com.
Make this a summer event as rocking at Allen Samuels with the 2021 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star with total values up to $6,250 or 2.9% for 72 months plus $2,000 in bonus cash. The 1500 Crew Cab has the top safety rating and is ranked #1 in full-size pickup trucks. Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Grant Dideker, under the umbrella of Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent. When you contact people about insurance, and people are hit up with it all the time, what do you tell them? What do you say? I know you say you educate, but Texas Farm Bureau Insurance is obviously successful for a lot of different reasons.
Right.
It has hundreds of thousands.
It's personal service.
Okay.
It's one-on-one service. Just yesterday, went to a client's house, met with the couple, went over all the coverages, and they said, wow, we've, never had this before. We've had this different insurance and that different insurance, but we've never had somebody actually come to the house and go over everything with us. And wow, we really appreciate that, especially this day and time where it's just a click of a button and you really don't know who you're dealing with. It's a different person you call every time you call that 800 number. You don't know who your agent is. Now they have a face with the name, and it's more personal service.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent. If someone wants to contact you, just straight on your cell phone?
Yep, 254-265-0442.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, a McLennan County agent.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Sam Bradshaw of Sikkim365.com.
All right, Sam Bradshaw, S11, is on the site, premium board, the premium section of Sikkim365.com, and also has joined us many times on Sikkim 365 Radio to break down, X's and O's. Sam, thanks for your time. It's great to have you again. I read your article today about what Jeff Grimes wants to do, what he's done, also how he might be like Gumbo from what he did at Auburn or what he did here or there. Do you think, one, that they can protect Bohannon enough to be able to get to what he needs to do when it comes to play action or bootleg or screens or whatever else?
There he is.
Our offense is built around the wide zone run game, where they want to be really good at it. They want to specialize in it. It's going to be very different than last fall, where a lot of what they were doing, the running game scheme of the week, was almost literally the scheme of the week. One week they'd be running power more. The next week they'd be running some zone more. The week after that, they'd be trying to run guard and tackle counter. And it just never really gelled. So they're going more to an idea of, here's what we do. This is who we are. We're going to get really good at it. And it's adaptable both formationally and in terms of personnel groups, that you can react to a lot of different defensive fronts. It reacts well to movement. They need to get that running game going. And that's where this entire offense starts. It's very similar to the Briles offense in that regard. The way they get there is completely different in terms of the blocking schemes that they use, but in the sense that everything starts there. If they can get that run game to where it's at least serviceable, which it was nowhere near there last year, if they can just get it to a serviceable level, they can do some things with some max protects and slide protections and play action that can really open things up for Bohannon. But it all starts with the run. And if they can get that offensive line to just gel in the run game, that's the key in my mind.
Sam, they've simplified the blocking. I mean, the wide zone scheme is, I don't know if it's about simplified blocking. It's certainly simplified for the running backs in that you're looking for running backs to make one decision and go. That way you don't want them to, you're always going to gain yards in your mind, but you're never really going to lose a whole lot, right?
Right. And the entire mantra that Grimes has is reliable, violent offense. He wants to be violent. He wants to be physical. He wants to get downhill, but he also wants it to be reliable. And similar to how Pete Carroll, when he went to USC, his first year there, he hired Norm Chow to do the classic Lavelle Edwards BYU West Coast offense. The very next year, he scrapped that, took parts of it, but put in more of a zone-based run game. They didn't do exclusively zone, but the idea behind it is they wanted to make sure that their quality athletes weren't being wasted on execution errors when they could get reliable, consistent gains and take some of that human error out of it. So similarly, with the wide zone, like most zone blocking, the line will be taking steps in the direction of the play. However, with wide zone, it differs from inside zone because it's a much more aggressive step to the outside. But you've probably heard of outside zone if you spend any time around football scheme. Outside zone is where you're trying to effectively get the edge. And if they take the edge away, you're cutting north and south. Wide zone is similar, but what they're trying to do is they're not trying to get to the edge. They're trying to threaten you with the ability to get to the edge where you have to flow or else they'll take the edge. But if you prevent them from getting to the edge, you're giving them exactly what they want. They want to get you moving and then puncture the defense getting north-south after 3 or 4 steps. They want that running back reading the defensive line, having good vision, and getting north-south in a physical way. It's very similar to what the Shanahan coaching tree has done at the NFL level. So guys like Terrell Davis, Alandis Gary, Mike Anderson. You've also got people in that coaching tree had it with Arian Foster. Number of guys that may not have lit the NFL Combine on fire, but were physical runners who had good vision and knew how to make one cut and get north and south.
What, I guess, were you surprised or were you expecting the announcement of Gary Bohannon as starting quarterback?
Based on what I saw in the spring game, I was expecting it.
Okay.
He seemed to have the best combination of touch on his passes, understanding the offense, and he just seemed to be more in control than the other guys. But then again, I haven't been in practice, so it easily could have gone a different way, and I wouldn't have necessarily been surprised. But based on what I saw in the spring game, he seemed like the obvious choice.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, Sam, this is not wrong to bring this up because when Charlie Brewer and the offense struggled last year, all of the clamoring, I mean, the message boards, social media, the stadium was about Jacob Zeno, who's a great young kid, hell of a player. He had those moments in the Big 12 title game, but in the end, it was a couple of throws, and they were brilliant, and it was legendary, almost. And he's not the starter. What was everybody just clueless?
Well, I think anytime you have a guy come in a scenario like that and almost pull it out, particularly if you have a couple Sports Center plays in there, the temptation is to gloss over the rest of the resume and look specifically at that. But coaches can't do that. To use another fan base as a similar comparison, and I'm not saying they're the same quarterback, and keep in mind, the kid I'm about to compare him to has gone on to have a lengthy NFL career. But Garrett Gilbert at Texas. Garrett Gilbert made a lot of poor decisions against Bama, but Texas fans will remember him hitting Jordan Shipley for 2 touchdowns and getting them close to where they could have pulled that game out. And similarly, they were surprised when it didn't pan out the following fall, because coaches get film on you. Coaches understand your strengths and weaknesses. And let's be honest, when Zeno was in there, you had a fake bubble screen where a receiver stalked for a moment like he was blocking and then went deep. And then you also had a running back seam that they didn't account for very well, split a 2-deep safety look, and Treston Ebner takes it to the house. That's 2 plays out of however many. It's a low sample size for all these guys coming in, and I think that's a lot of pressure that's pretty unfair to put on a kid who came in, did a great job in that game, but the expectations are that he's going to be the next Dan Marino based off of that in the eyes of the fan base. And I think you just need to tap the brake, let the kid develop. And I still think he can be a very good quarterback. But at the same time, Bohannon's had a little more time. He gives you a little bit more of a running threat. And in the spring game, he outperformed them.
Sam, who are some guys that you are looking forward to seeing in action in this offense a week from tomorrow?
Well, obviously Bohannon, the offensive line, because everything's going to start with them. That's who determines how many guys you have to block and the guys responsible for blocking them. From there, I really want to see how your tailbacks, Treston Ebner, Abram Smith, and some of the other guys, see who has a good feel for it, who doesn't. And then also, I'm really intrigued to see what they can do with their tight ends. Just because this is an offense where if you can get multiple guys in there that you think are both good runners, good run blockers, and good receivers, that's some versatility, particularly as the defenses get smaller in the Big 12. You can do a lot to put guys in conflict. And I really want to see what we get out of Sims and Dabney in this new scheme. And then, just who is a lead receiver that steps up where if you put 3 guys to one side and they roll coverage to them, leaving single coverage on the backside, who can make them pay? Who can do it consistently? Who's going to step up? Baylor's got a lot of guys that athletically, on paper, you should fear. Who's going to be the one that takes that, puts that fear in the hearts and minds of the defensive coordinator instead of letting them think that they can take their chance? I'm interested to see who kind of comes up and becomes the next Denzel Mims.
I saw part of what Jeff Grimes wants to do offensively, and it's about this year's team, not just what he wants to do, but who they would use on the little slip screen that I saw. I don't know if it was in a scrimmage or it was somebody else who used it that you were referring to where he has been, maybe Brigham Young, whoever. Would that be right down the alley of Treston Ebner and Squirrel?
You would think those guys would be perfect for a little turnaround screen. And for those who didn't see the preview that are listening, effectively what it is it's a very unassuming screen. When you think running back screen, you think, oh, delay, and then he kind of leaks out. It's designed to simulate a slide protection where the line moves one way and the running back is responsible for the edge on the other side. This works so well because people are trying to get past this block anyway. So the running back and a couple linemen let their guys get past them. Quarterback flips it to them. And all of a sudden, you've got a running back in open space with a convoy. USC did this wonderfully during the Reggie Bush years. I still remember him taking it to the house against Virginia Tech using it. I mean, it's a very cheap play to install. It's really effective, looks exactly like a lot of the deeper shots they want to take. And I don't think Houston stopped it once last fall. And it's a big part of the reason that they went into Houston and beat the Cougars.
Sam, J.D. Piquel on the Big 1-2 the other night broke down some film and was showing me, like, when this offense is humming, Zach Wilson, if you look at his play action fakes, he was not, really trying to sell it that hard. People will bite on this run if this offense gets going, won't they?
I think they will, because if you're doing something with a little more of a tight blocking scheme, guys don't necessarily have to move off their landmarks laterally to defend the run. They just have to decide, all right, do I want to trigger or do I want to drop back in zone? With this, the gap that they are hitting is moving. One of the clips I broke down, the guy technically cuts back into the A gap, but he's still running several feet to his right to get there. It's a moving gap fit where the defense, in order to fit it accurately and to be gap sound, they've got to move with the offensive line. That will get a lot of flow happening that they've been able to design plays around to get wide receiver screens open, to get misdirection with the quarterback running back option going back the other way after they feign like they're going with the line for a step. It does a lot with misdirection, and that's before you even get to the wide receiver fly sweeps that they do, where they put a receiver in motion and it's the snap of the ball, they hand it to him. Vanderbilt gave Baylor trouble with that in the bowl game a couple of years back, but that's another little wrinkle that he got from a number of the places he was with. Remember, he was at LSU with Matt Canada, who had that outstanding year at Pitt where they upset eventual national champion Clemson. And one of the very effective series they had was tacking that on to a lot of their base runs. People see it 10, 15 times and they don't hand it to the receiver. Nobody tracks with them. And then that one time they do, it goes big. And defensive coordinator's pulling his hair out because he installed all week to make sure they account for it. But somebody got a little lazy and mentally, and then they give up a big play. This offense does a good job of making a lot of things look similar and giving you a lot to worry about visually. They're going to show you different formations, different motions, but it stays relatively simple for the offense, which is what you want as an offensive play caller. You want to stress the defense without stressing your personnel.
Sam, will you pass out if it's 3rd down and 2 and Baylor runs the ball and picks up a first down?
Think well, after last year, who knows?
Exactly right.
After last year, I don't care who they're playing. Yeah. All right. In all due respect, that you have Abram Smith where he is now for a reason. He was a great high school running back. We know that. Moved to linebacker and now running back. Would John Lovett have been perfect for this particular running game?
He would have been a very good fit. I think he's the kind of physical runner with solid speed that you could rely on to be pretty good in this offense. There's a number of guys that have played the last few years that I think would be really good in this offense. He's not quite as big, but I think JaMychal Hasty's another good example of it. But yeah, there's a lot of guys that you think would be good, but Lovett would certainly be among them.
All right. Anything else, Paul?
Yeah, JaMychal Hasty, once he stopped, seeing himself as he was in high school and saw himself as a college player, he became that guy that would have been really good. Oh, I mean, look, he's playing in a Shanahan offense right now, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. I mean,
exactly.
It's his 3rd year, second. Yeah, he always tried to get out. He always tried to bounce everything outside because he could when Longview was playing Pine Tree, Marshall, whoever, and even some of the other teams. But once he learned that he had to kind of get in between some things, and he's a strong, low to the ground, hard to find guy. Man, it's great that and Matt Rule said he's going to be a pro, and you know what? He would know, and he is.
Well, yeah, and especially on Hasty, you're talking about one of the best individual pass protecting backs that Baylor's had, over the last few years, and he's also a very capable receiver. There were a couple games. I remember one in Norman against Oklahoma. Baylor didn't win, and the defense had no chance that year, but I remember a number of conversions where Oklahoma's linebacker just couldn't stay with them on an option route, and it produced several first downs. And then there was that game in Stillwater where Baylor just smoked Oklahoma State. And I believe that Brewer bought a little more time, and Hasty kept working, and he was a reliable check down option that went for a big play. The guy is probably the most underrated back that I've seen in Waco in quite some time.
Sam, you do an incredible job. We still, Paul, at some point, get him in that studio with that
the
screen.
vibe. Yeah.
I don't know if he'd ever leave. I think he'd sleep in the studio.
Well, we have to watch him because I'm sure if he'd walk out the door with it.
Yeah, he would. And JD's kind of
no promises.
Yeah.
Hey, Sam, have you seen what JD's done with that board? Have you been able to watch a little bit of that?
Yeah, I saw him use the board. It looks like a lot of fun.
I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it. You're jealous, aren't you?
we got to bring him in. We got to bring him in.
No, we really need. We need to get you in. Colt, whoever, let's get you in. Obviously, Armstrong, Jack, get you in and let you play with that thing and get to know it a little bit. All right, thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Your time. Sam Bradshaw, S11 on the site. He's got a premium section article out. He breaks down the upcoming opponent when Baylor's about to play. He then goes back and looks at it. Football Bob, Gary Comer does that, looks back at games as well. And they'll be a part of on occasion, correct? Are they going to be a part of the big one too?
Yeah, sure.
I just invited them on.
I mean, you did. I mean, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't. I would like to get them both in there, get them both and do like a dueling banjos kind of a thing with a vibe board.
By the way, it's amazing what just a little tiny bottle of cold water can do to the entire atmosphere in this press box. No one wants to hear our problem.
No.
But it is a little bit, it's 95 degrees or whatever, sunny. We're fine. We're get to cover a game. We're doing a show live, YouTube. Again, if you did not hear earlier, let you know that we went over 10,000 of you. We had 2,600 on July the 1st, and thank you for the amazing growth all the way to where we are. We're not done. We want to keep going.
There are three things in Texas high school press boxes that are unpredictable. One of them is, will the windows anywhere near you open when you need them to?
Yep.
Two is, how am I going to connect to wherever I'm sending this broadcast? And three is, what is the temperature going to be inside that booth at any given moment, given the time of year?
It could be different.
And it's just different. In some places, you don't ever have to worry about any of that stuff. And some places, 2 out of 3. But that's the three things that I think about the most when we go to places we're not used to.
I opened the show with a couple of things, but one of the notes was high school football note. 8-time champion Carthage came back from 17 points down to beat Crosby, who played for a level or two up above him in 5A Division II. South Lake Carroll spanked Highland Park, just hammered them. And that's without Ewers. They're just like, okay, they've moved on with that. The game tonight, one of the great games tonight, Temple hosting 2-time defending champion Westlake out of Austin. That's one of the great games tonight. And there are many others as well, and we'll get into some of those. Paul Catalina as well with his top 5 coming up around the corner. And this is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, your friend in the car business, one of the hottest months of the year. Alan Samuels has the Make This the Summer event, 2021 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star, total values up to $6,250, 2.9% for 72 months, plus a $2,000 bonus cash. That's why Ram truck owners are most loyal to the brand that is back-to-back Motor Trend Truck of the Year. And make this the summer event as well for the 2021, the new Grand Cherokee Laredo. Total values of $3,500, 0% for 48 months, and on top of that, a $2,000 bonus cash. Come in and check out the most prestigious Jeep. The Jeep Grand Cherokee 2021 L. Beautiful, rugged, third-row seat. Incredible Jeeps arriving daily on the lot. And you're going to fall in love with the Grand Cherokee L. See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
Escape the mundane with the responsive power and exhilarating agility of a new Cadillac from Richard Carr Cadillac. Smile behind the wheel again in the supercharged sophistication of a CT4 or CT5 sedan, or the sporty and spacious XT4, XT5, or XT6 lineup of SUVs. Starting at only $33,395, the Cadillac of your dreams is waiting now at an affordable price at Richard Carr. Test drive from the expansive selection at Richard Carr Cadillac, or let us bring a test drive to you. Go to richardcarcadillac.com to schedule a test drive today.
today.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financials, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Waco's newest gym, Halo Athletic Center, 5725 Bagby Avenue, right behind Region 12 and across the highway from the Central Texas Marketplace, where motivation, inspiration, and hard work are the driven force. State-of-the-art equipment, indoor and outdoor track, locker room, showers, after daylight yoga, bar classes, bod pod body composition analysis, and registered dietitians, massage therapists, and estheticians, all under one roof where we rise above. Come join the Halo Athletic Center and be part of the change. Your change.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55. Presented by Slapsticks Comedy Club. For ticket information, go to slapstickscomedy.com.
Welcome back in, Sikkim 365 Radio. It is the Top 5, and today, the Top 5 TV markets the Big 12 could move into. This is at the suggestion of the one and only Colt Barber. And so I based this on the top TV markets that are realistic. Now, we got one brought up in the middle of the show today that I hadn't thought about at all.
UNLV?
Yeah, UNLV. So add that in. But for these are the TV markets that the Big 12 is considering, or would be the most obvious considerations for the Big 12. Number 5 at 51st in the country, Memphis. So it's not a top 50 market, but it's not that far off from a top 50 market. So if you're 51st and saying it's not a top 50 market, well, yes, technically you're right, but you're kind of splitting hairs at that point. And if you want top 50 markets, you could do a lot worse than Memphis.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've always been a fan of them, at least in the conversation.
And then FedEx's money probably makes that worth it more. Number 4, Cincinnati is the 36th market in the country and growing. It's the one on this list that I believe has made the biggest jump over the last 5 years is Cincinnati. The population in Ohio is growing, and Cincinnati is 36th. So that makes some sense as it's growing.
Yeah, that makes some sense. And, if you look at Memphis and Cincinnati and UCF and potentially whoever else, guess they're having some audio issues here at the stadium. My God. Those are 4 brand new states that could be brought in, or 3 to 4 brand new states that could potentially be brought into the mix. So that would be, I know geography is not the most important thing, but I think that would be good for the Big 12.
If you had one or the other, who would you want?
Of who?
Cincinnati and Memphis?
The two we mentioned.
I'd probably take Cincinnati over Memphis.
I don't know.
Yeah,
probably Cincinnati, but I don't know for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Number 3, San Diego is 27th. It doesn't have a Power 5 team in it unless, they wanted to add San Diego State. Now, outside of the TV market and getting into California for that, San Diego State as a university doesn't bring you that much other than a great away trip every now and again for your team.
Alums would love it.
Yeah, alums would love it, but the team doesn't get to. I mean, not that they're going to get to the zoo. They fly in, they fly out.
The attendance there, and this is just, again, I don't see the facts in front of me, but the attendance there appears to be, based on the chat room, really, really tough.
Yeah, So
and if they had any value, the Pac-12 would scoop them up.
Yep,
you know what I mean? Like they wouldn't let San Diego just be a market for somebody else if there was enough there to lump them into the Pac-12.
Yeah, number 2, Orlando, the 17th market, up from a year ago, was the 18th market, so it continues to move up the list each and every year.
Why?
Yeah.
Why are so many people moving to Orlando?
Well, I mean, look, Florida has no state income tax.
Well, I know why people move to Florida, but why Orlando? I guess the theme parks and all that.
Yeah, I think it's just a growing area. It's a place where you can, there's some really nice areas around it. I mean, look, Tiger Woods lives really close to Orlando. So
yeah, that's true. There's a lot of wrestlers that live out there too.
Yeah, so I would have thought that Tampa would grow faster than Orlando.
That's what I'm saying. It's
coast,
just like, or Miami, or but Miami's falling in the ocean. So but no, it's just I hear so much about Orlando growing and growing and growing, and I just think of it as like a theme park town kind of, because that's my experience in going there mostly. Yeah. But good for O-Town.
And the number 1 TV market they could add, but they may not need to, is one we keep talking about for many, for probably just a couple of specific reasons. But Craig, you've read a lot at Houston, but it's the 8th TV market right now, and in about 5 years, it probably will be 5th.
Yeah, and the percentage of those viewers that are watching the Cougars, I don't know what that would be. If not for the threat of maybe them growing and being a brand that's wanted by some other Power 5 conference. I mean, I'm pretty firm in what I've said over and over and over about not wanting Houston because of if I were a Texas school. But I also understand if they make the most sense because of the size and all of that, then that's the move that you got to make. I just think it waters down your Texas products. And I don't know, maybe the viewership would outflank that or outweigh that problem for the others. But, that's a very curious one to me, is Houston and the Big 12's thoughts on them.
I don't think it is because you're afraid of Houston.
No, it's absolutely not.
I think it's because you're opening Houston. It's like you're opening the door. We know of a company that had no competition. Mm-hmm. One day they just lost their mind, and all of a sudden now all they have is competition.
Yeah, and so, it's one of those things that the 3 Texas schools will do it if it's the best thing, but there is a consequence to that.
Yeah,
if they
that's
do
what
it.
I'm saying.
There's a consequence to that would not be for some of the other ones.
And it's absolutely not me going, oh man, I'd be worried about Houston. No, I would be worried about my recruiting in Houston after, I wouldn't be worried about losing to them all the time or anything like that. No, but yeah, that recruiting aspect's a pretty big part of it. And they would be able to recruit better than they ever have by being a part of a Power 5 conference. And right now they're not.
They do a pretty good job now.
Say you're Power 5, then what would they be doing? So that's my point, is that those guys who want to go to Power 5 are going to, we'll go to Baylor or TCU instead and play Texas and Oklahoma. And now they can't do that either. So, we'll see.
That's it. That was number 1.
Houston's the 8th market?
8th market.
I thought they were 4th or something.
They fluctuate. The top 10 kind of fluctuates between after number 3. It kind of fluctuates. It's one of those things, that list that we saw of the most watched games that we had the guy on the show, the most watched games. The thing that I thought was really telling about that list is if you were we're 28th and you're 36th, you're talking about 50,000 viewers.
Right.
You're not really, you're knocking it out of the park there.
All right, couple of notes before we leave. Steve Sarkisian at UT continues to say he's not ready to name a quarterback, despite the report that came out earlier that he was ready to name Hudson Card his starting quarterback. And I just lost. I wish I could go find the text. I hope I can. Mike George. I know, Paul. I know. Mike George is a valuable list. Glenn Otto will make his debut tonight for the Rangers. He went to Rice. That is Mike George's first cousin's son. It's a little bit of a tidbit. Thank you. All right. Thanks to Paul Catalina, to Craig Smoak. Thanks to Hayden Bumpus, Armstrong Sims. We're back in an hour from Round Rock for Midway and Round Rock High School. Sikkim 365 Radio, 106.7 The Eagle, terrestrial radio, and yes, we'll be on YouTube as well with 365 Sports. Thank you for watching, texting, listening, and our great sponsors. Good night from Round Rock for now.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.